We can't hear you, Ms. Stern. Good morning. Hello, Nev.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're going to do a general sound check. Can everyone hear everyone? Can everyone hear me right now at this point?
Yes.
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 Are we all now present? I believe we're missing one. No, we're missing one person, at least.
Member Tertan has stated that he will not be attending the meeting today. So at 9:30, we can go ahead and begin.
Oh, let me.
I believe we can begin now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good morning, all. I hope all of you are well, and good morning to the community of Highland Beach and to all those who happen to be watching us on our virtual Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board meeting here in Highland Beach, Florida. I'd appreciate that the board members and participants in this meeting silence their phones if possible, so as to avoid the interruption during the meeting. And I'd ask the town clerk to please call the roll.
Okay, I'm actually going to call the roll. Member Amberling Stern,
Present.
Member Matherman,
Present.
Member Halpern,
Present.
Member Braun,
Present.
Member Tertan, Vice Chair Mirage,
Present.
Chairperson Parks.
Present. Thank you very much. At this point, we're going to have a pledge of allegiance. If you don't mind, all of us shall rise for the pledge of allegiance as appropriate.
Yeah, pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America
and to the republic
Republic
For
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
for
with
liberty
liberty
justice
and justice
for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. Going forward, we're going to ask for an approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, deletions to the agenda that anyone from the board would like to make?
No?
I'd like to poll the board on this. Ms. Braun, would you like to add anything to the agenda? Ms. Matherman?
No.
Ms. Mirage?
no.
Ms. Stern?
No.
Mr. Halpern? Mr. Halpern? Any
No.
additions to them? Okay. Therefore, is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I make such a motion.
Do we have a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. No opposed, no opposition, it passes. Going forward now to public comments. Do we have, at this point, I've not been advised there's any public comments that we're supposed to be participating or in our meeting. Am I correct, Ms. Thompson?
Yes, that's correct. There's no public comments.
So under the circumstances where there are no public comments, I'm going to move forward to item number 6. But before doing so, there's we've been notified by Member Braun that she would like to advance the topic which she intends to raise during new business to this point in our conversation, so as to avoid the possibility of being cut off. Ms. Braun is currently overseas, and her internet connection is undetermined at this point. So she'd like to have us, or she had asked to have this particular topic, which is item 9B, which is the police presence on the beach, addressed at this
Chairperson
point.
Parks, I'm
Yes.
sorry. So that would actually be an amendment of the agenda.
So I missed the opportunity to do so, Ms. Thompson.
Well, we just started the presentation, so we're amending the agenda to put item, you said 9B, police presence on the beach, and you want to move that to presentations.
Well, I want to move it actually in between public comments and presentations to afford Ms. Braun the opportunity to make these
We would
comments.
have to have a space to place that. So if we can, it would actually could be, let's see, presentations B, because we already have an A, or it can be A1 if you want to discuss it before the board recommendations.
That's fine. I'd be more than happy to accommodate that. Please
Thank you.
Please accept it, make a motion to accept it as presentation under 6A1. We're going to advance topic 9B to 6A1 to accommodate some technical issues. May I have a motion to do so, please?
I so move.
I
Second the motion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor? No problem? Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. We have a unanimous opinion on that. So I suppose, Ms. Braun, this is now in your discussion. So I've referred to you to proceed forward with your presentation on police presence on the beach.
Okay, so it's very simple. And for you, some of you might know, but some years ago, we would have the police being on the beach on a frequent agenda. So I think it was, if I recall it correctly, and Mr. Halpern maybe knows better, it was short after the so-called dog beach, a little bit further north, was closed, and suddenly we had more dogs on the beach, and suddenly the police would come, and it would work out well because they educated people how the rules would be for dogs on the beach. So having said that, after a short while, it stopped. And I remember that several residents in meetings would ask why they are not there anymore, why they are not coming. And a general answer at that time was because it is difficult to have access to the beach. So that was my understanding. It was a matter of access. So, and people swallowed that answer and took it like that. So now, fast forward in COVID times, the police had to patrol the beaches again for good reasons. And I have to say, I saw them several times a day. They did a great job. They were friendly, they educated people. They told them it was a state law that we would have closed private beaches and so on. So, and I think it worked out well. I cannot recall that any of my neighbors had any bad encounter whatsoever. So, but I witnessed in the last few months or even years, whenever there is a situation with a dog owner who is not following the rules in terms of not keeping the dog on the leash or cleaning up after the dog, and another resident would say, oh, please, if you don't know the rules, please put the dog on the leash. And in 95% of all cases, it would become a very hostile and unpleasant situation. And and there are some dogs very nice and some dogs are not that nice. And I would simply ask my fellow board members that we would like that the police have some kind of a presence on the beach. It doesn't need to be every day. It might be once a week or twice a week in the season and less in summer, but only the presence of the police on the beach does solve most of the issues, because then suddenly the dog owners know that they cannot let the dog run around, and it is suddenly a way much calmer situation. So that was my little request here, since the police exercised perfectly their duty during COVID and the lockdown of the beaches, and I think it worked perfectly. So again, I would not ask the police to say, can you please be every day on the beach? That would be an overreach. But if they would once in a while or twice a week, 3 times a week, would just in frequent times, would just go left and right and be there and answer the questions, because owners without a dog asking friendly for other people with a dog to obey the rules, the same rule that they have when they stroll with the dog on the street, can become quite.
I think we understand your position. I think we
Yes.
better off, since we have the pleasure of Chief Hartman's company this morning. and
Okay.
Actually-
he's available. I'd like to ask his comment in regards to what
Okay, that is perfect.
his
I
clone.
cannot see him, but it would be great.
Chief,
Chief.
would you mind if I just interject before you make your comments? This is Ingrid Allen. I just wanted to advise the board that policing or patrolling the beach by the police is really outside the purview of the board. When you look at the powers and duties in section chapter 2-140, which is actually attached in item C of your, 9C of your agenda packet, it is really, again, outside the purview. The board's purview is beach cleanup. It's not really about whether the police should be patrolling the beaches and what have you. That said, I did ask the chief to, as a courtesy, to come to the meeting today to explain the policing procedures and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to advise the board of this information. So,
Miss Allen, a comment.
Yes.
In a way, it is part of the purview, because if dogs are pooping on the beach and people aren't cleaning up from that poop, that's part of the purview of this group.
well, again, I think the way I read the email, and I see what you're saying, but it was also about misbehaving dog owners and that people, I guess, are getting aggressive. I guess there's a fine line there, right? It's about beach cleanup.
Ellen, it is a combination.
That it was more
It is a
about
combination.
aggressive.
Yeah,
Pardon?
it is a combination of leaving the beach not cleaned up the way it should be, and also getting very hostile. And my question to your answer right now, was that always the case, or is that a new thing? Because some years ago in that discussion, it was never kind of that it was a thing of rules.
Ms. Prom, pardon the interruption. But
Yeah.
I think it's best we just address Chief Hartman's comments. and then-
Yes,
and let
okay,
him- I just
perfect.
like to,
Perfect.
I like the chief just to address one simple topic. Does he have a schedule for officers to appear on the beach to make any type of routine patrol? I believe they used to have a 4-wheel vehicle that did this years ago. I'm not sure whether they still have that. And if so, what is that schedule, and what is the parameter he gives his officers in regards to enforcement of any obligations from residents on the beach? Fair enough? Chief? Can you hear me, Chief?
So good morning.
I'm
Good
sorry.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for inviting me to the meeting. Miss seeing you all here in town hall when you come in, but hopefully we're back to normal somewhere in the near future. Thank you for talking about this. I know we've talked about this for a lot of years. There certainly are challenges for getting on the beach in Highland Beach. Everybody knows that. We have to actually leave town all the way up into Delray, Northland Boulevard, or go south to Boca past Spanish River to get on the beach. With all the construction and things going back on in the beach, work going on in the beach in Boca, it wasn't feasible for us to use their area a lot of times. So we had issues even getting in and out of down there. So you can imagine we have to drive all the way into up past Linton Boulevard just to get on the beach, and then to traverse it all the way back down. And the challenge of being out there on a more regular basis is the tide, is the turtle season, those type of things that don't allow us to really navigate that safely. There's areas where even our people that empty the garbage have to go one way and then turn around and go back and get on the other way sometimes. So you can imagine how time consuming that is. And when you're taking, we don't have additional staffing to do that. So we actually take an officer away from the road patrol, the calls, the visibility, the traffic enforcement, all those things to get on the beach. And I agree, it is certainly a more of a, it's good interactions with us when we have with our residents and public relations, chances to educate people on the leash law for our beach. I think we're very fortunate that we have the people that do use it are our residents. And what we found from talking to even non-dog owners and everybody that lives out there, our residents are very, very responsible and aware of the beach, their dogs' waste. They do a great job of that, and we rely on that. Yes, we have educated people coming from Boca. We did a push when they first opened the dog beach, and we've seen that drop down over the last couple of years after they originally opened. But it's not something that we do on a regular basis. We don't have a schedule, depending on the weather. You can imagine we don't want to get caught with a beach vehicle on the beach as the rain rolls in and it's stuck there. We can't get that back over. We have to go all the way up to Delray. And it's a little bit of a challenge that you have to drive. That's not a vehicle made to drive on the roadway. So we have to do the speed limit to get out of town just to get on the beach. But people do call us from time to time. We really have not had any calls on any of the dogs on the beach that I can remember in the last several months. So for residents that do have an issue with it, a concern, do have a run-in, but we will get a call from time to time, and we will respond. We can get out there just as easy. So hopefully, as the season opens up again, and we come out of turtle season, that will certainly make it easier for us to maneuver out there and get out there and be visible. We have no crime on the beach. We have no issues on the beach. We see that 99.9% of everybody uses that beach is our residents, and they do a really good job of policing themselves, of being accountable. We rely on that. You rely on that, and it's not something that we're going to. Thank you for saying you don't want to see us there every day, because that would be a difficult thing to do. But we certainly rely on you guys as ambassadors and passing that information on us. Our turtle volunteers are amazing. I hear from Barbara James on a regular basis, and it's like we have an extra set of eyes and ears out there when there is an issue or a concern. And then we have that line of communication open. Weekends, holidays, you name it, I hear from you. You guys have a concern, we hear about it. So we do a pretty good job of trying to manage our own beach. Thank God it's a private beach.
If I understand you correctly, Chief, we don't have a lot of enforcement issues where you're called upon to go to the beach to deal with any kind of problems.
It's really tapered off to hardly anything. Once in a while, it's our residents and their dogs, and they're usually with their dogs. Sometimes they're not always on the leash, but they'll be walking with the dogs, and dogs are pretty close. We don't have dogs really running at large, but we have had occasions, yes, in the past where there's been dog not close to the person and running, and people don't know whether your dog's friendly or not. So nobody likes to be approached by a dog that they don't know. But it's really been, I don't want to say a non-issue, but it's not something that has been a concern for us. But we do try and get out there, and hopefully we'll get out there as the weather gets better. The tides make it very difficult for us to traverse that beach safely with some of the hills. And we can tell you that from, we've had a lot of interaction with you guys over the beach during the COVID crisis and the beach closures. And it's really difficult where that tide is, the hills that it makes. It's a 4-wheel drive vehicle, but it was very challenging for us trying to move around there and to get to different parts of that beach. It shuts you off, and sometimes you can't get any further, and you got to turn around and go all the way back.
All right, at this point, I'd like to open it up to other members of the board to add some comments to this. Does anyone else have any comments they'd like to make on this topic?
My only comment would be that, I'm at the beach just about every day, and there are dogs there, but they're always very friendly, even if they're off the leash. Owners pick up. I've never seen a problem on our beach near us where there's been a problem with the dog.
Anyone else have a comment?
Yeah, I have to state the same thing. We do a lot of walking on the beach, and we have a 10-pound Havanese that we do go off leash, but she never goes more than 20 feet from us, period. And we've not seen any problems for years. And we actually walked to the Boca Beach with the dogs, and they're also were pretty well behaved over there as well. I do got a quick question, Chief. If Milani Park goes forward, and that's a big if, and there's a lot of discussion on that, that's separate. Has there been any thought if it goes forward of providing access to you through Milani Park to the beach? If not, maybe think about that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I know that the mayor and the town manager have been integrally involved in that with the county, and they're working on all those aspects and responsibilities for the park as it approaches. But that certainly has been mentioned.
Okay, just want to throw that in for consideration if that goes forward.
And if I could just,
Stern,
hi, it's Susan. Talking about the mayor, I think as mayor and also as president of the center board at Boca Highlands, I think we've said that the police can come through the gate and with their vehicle through Boca Highlands if it's necessary, rather than having to go down to the Boca area. But I do also notice that because we're the closest thing, we're the border of Boca and Highland Beach, dogs do come from Boca. It's not that often, it's usually late in the afternoon, but they aren't on the leashes.
And thank you, Mr. for mentioning that. You're absolutely right. Actually, while we were down there at that boat, I think I've stopped 2 different people that have walked up from Boca to walk by, and probably some of it to see the boat, but I made them aware of our leash law and our responsibilities. But and thank you for mentioning that. We have talked to your management. Once your project is finished with the beach club, that the bigger gate down the bottom where we can have access to, we have talked to them about that, and that will be an option for us, and that's going to be a perfect option. So that's just perfect. We have to go all the way to the furthest south point of town to get on the beach, but we can get on there safely. We can get through those gates now, and as soon as that's done, I know there's delay on that, but hopefully that's.
I think it's all done.
The bottom gate is something with
the bottom gate is still small.
Yes, yeah, but management Candy, they've been terrific, and that's what we talked about getting on there.
Vice Chairman, the comments. Neb Mirage, would you like to add anything? You're muted. No, I'm sorry. Now we can hear you.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say that I'm very close to Delray. Maybe that's a little bit the problem, because I feel that the people that we have issues with, they are all coming, and I'm less than a mile away from Delray. I'm glad to hear that in the middle of Highland Beach, you do not have the problems. I'm very happy to hear that.
I have a suggestion, Ms. Braun. May I make it for a moment? I can see what we can act on this.
Please.
With all respect, and I'm going to confess to being a dog owner. At least I will be a dog owner again soon. But and I do have a personal preference to the idea of keeping the town of Highland Beach dog friendly, because I think it adds to the warmth and friendliness of our overall community. But I do think that there's definitely justification for from this comment, and it came from Chief Hartman's mention of a moment about educating people. Perhaps if it wouldn't be obnoxious, we could put a sign on both ends of the town, basically advising residents and individuals that enter the beach area, either from the Boca Raton side or from the Delray side, of the fact that we are a leash law community, and that we have a responsibility for individuals to keep their dogs under control at all times if they choose to enter the area with their dog. I'm sure it's not going to be as enforcement as having an on-duty police officer standing there with it, but at least it would bring a point of demarcation to the beach area. We could probably put it in, if Boca Highland would permit this, somewhere between Boca Highland and the actual theoretical end of the park, Spanish River Park. And we could put the other one on the side of Del Rey. And that alone might be an impediment to some people just randomly allow their dogs to move on to the beach. I think that's within the boundaries of what we can recommend to the commission to do about this. I don't believe that enforcement through police activity is genuinely warranted, nor would it necessarily be a good idea, with all respect to Chief Hartman, on a regular basis for for our residents. But unfortunately, I think we do have an opportunity here. So if the board would entertain the idea, we could make a recommendation to the town commission to allow some type of sign be posted, perhaps in a discreet manner near the high tide mark, indicating that you're now entering Highland Beach. And as such, these are the rules and regulations. The same as the sign that exists at the end of the easements that allow us onto the beach. Does that sound like a possibility for everyone else? Anyone like to make a motion to do that? Or is that not something you want
I
to do?
just would say that, we have a sign on our walkway. I don't know about the other paths, but there already is signage up there.
I'm talking about signs between right by Boca Highland, where the actual, where the state park ends, or the city park ends. I don't know if Spanish River is a city or state park. And then Boca Highland begins, a sign posted right there, indicating that you're now on Highland Beach, as opposed to being on Boca Raton's Spanish River Park or Del Rey's, whatever land they were on there. In other words, basically the same sign that exists on A1A. You're entering Highland Beach. These are the rules and regulations associated with our beach. Please clean up after your animals, which I think is an extremely good idea, and I always did as an individual. And be aware of the fact that we are a leash law community. If they choose to violate that, then we have other issues, but at least we've notified people when they have actually entered Highland Beach, because there's no real way of knowing it. I think it's called Yamato Rock now, is already past that point. So that wouldn't work. It'd have to be between the park and the actual Boca Highland properties, if I'm not mistaken. And this is just a suggestion. So if the board would like to make a recommendation of that nature, I'm opening the floor to that.
It sounds good, but it's another sign. I know the mayor is not thrilled with signs and signs, at least in our community. But I don't think we have that many dog problems to have to put up a sign for that. If we wanted to put a general sign about you're entering Highland Beach and these are the regulations, that would be good. But just because of the dogs, I sit on the beach and we see them coming from Boca, but it's not a lot.
Anyone else have any comments?
I would agree with that. I don't think it's necessary.
Very well. So we have no motion to entertain that. Ms. Braun, do you have any more comments you'd like to make?
No, I mean, we are all in a, wait a moment. We are all in a situation that we see, I guess, most of the time, the same part of the beach where we live, where we walk. So, and I understand within 3.2 miles, there can be different experiences. And for that reason, I can only speak from my experience and what I witnessed, and that's all I can say to that.
All right. Absent a consensus on how we should handle this, I'm going to recommend that we simply pass over the topic at this point and consider it in the future if it becomes more of an issue that the board would like to consider. Do I have a motion to that effect?
No, I was going to make a motion to actually on the signs. I think it's a good idea to have signs. I'm not looking for extensive things in terms of regulation, but I think it would be good. I'm proud of living in Highland Beach. I would like a sign saying, hey, you're passing out of Boca, you're coming into Highland Beach. This is another government. So if nothing else, people realize that. And I think we need to have that on the north and south end of our signs. not huge signs, but enough to know that you're going into another government. You're going into another municipality.
Okay.
So I'd like a recommendation that make a motion that we make a recommendation to the board that they consider signage at the entrances to Highland Beach at the north and south end. I make that motion.
I'll second the motion. And in the conformity with Ms. Allen's excellent effort to try to put together a recommendation report and keep this in the boundaries of the recommendation report, which we're not totally familiar with, but which I've reviewed. Ms. Allen, what would you like us to exactly, how much of a summary would you like us to make this for your recommendation report to the commission to consider?
Well, again, I'm looking at the form, which is part of attachment number 4 in your agenda item, I believe it's 6A.
Mm-hmm.
I could give you all the page numbers. It's actually page 13 in your agenda packet. So obviously there's an action item, what are the key issues? And I think, you know, that's been made by Ms. Braun and some of the other board members. And as far as the background, I don't know, again, I think information given by Ms. Braun, she's elaborated a bit on, you know, how this issue came about and become a concern. As far as fiscal impact, I'm not sure how much a sign would cost. I'd have to discuss with our town manager if you all do make the recommendation, if you would like for me to research the cost for the sign. Also keep in mind, the town has a sign code. There are certain provisions with regards to signage. So any type of sign that does move forward would have to be reviewed against the sign code. And as far as that the board has any attachments for this particular item. But.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. But just, I'm sorry, I should really go back to Member Halpern's comment. We made a motion, I seconded the motion to make a recommendation to the town commission indicating that we'd like to see signs on the beach indicating when you're actually entering the Highland Beach area as opposed to any other type of information. The type of sign, the actual boundaries a sign can have, we can discuss. I need to know whether the board would like to vote on that. Can we please have a vote on that motion?
Can I make a comment first?
By all means.
I don't think this has anything to do with the Natural Resources Committee. Sign.
I disagree for one reason. I'm looking at section 2-140 subsection F, which is make recommendations about regulating related to beach cleaning as the board sees fit. I'm also basically looking at the overall tenor of our obligations as a board and to assist the meeting to basically give recommendations to the commission as to how we can best preserve the integrity of our natural resources. Bearing in mind that the beaches are most—
There's a sign saying that you're entering Highland Beach, do that.
Well, I'm not recommending that sign. I'm recommending a sign which says we respectfully request you abide by our leash laws and regulations, clean up after your dogs, and make whatever. To be honest with you, the efficacy of the matter isn't at stake here. If we want this recommendation to go through, we're welcoming the commission to consider it. There is no other way of knowing when you're entering Highland Beach. If you don't want to make this a situation where we're going to ask for enforcement, that's fine too. But at this point, I don't see any harm to advising people when they're walking into Highland Beach via the actual coast versus entering Highland Beach through the highway. And if they can abide by our rules and regulations, they can bring their dogs. But if they can't do that, then they have a situation where they can't. Actually, there is one caveat to that though, and I would address this to Mr. Halpern and Ms. Braun. If we put such a sign at the beach and we advise people of the leash laws, we actually are inviting the possibility of more dogs entering Highland Beach.
Exactly.
Than we would otherwise have, because most residents and most citizens in South Florida, from my experience, including all the towns I visited between here and Jupiter and Vero, do not have the accessibility of dogs on the beach. Boca did not have any availability of dogs on the beach until they effectuated a regulation where they opened their parks up at certain hours. So this could be an invitation to more problems.
Exactly.
If we would actually put that on there. So that's one caveat to this that we have to consider, that we're actually advising people that we allow dogs on our beach as opposed to having them guess whether or not that's the case.
It would be not the purpose. That would
Well,
defeat the purpose.
So maybe
That
we
would
better,
be-
so maybe Mr.
You know,
Halpern-
I never thought about signage. That is a new idea to me. I just enjoyed the idea of having a presence of the police on the beach who would have a communication with our residents. And that was just the idea of avoiding any kind of really unpleasant discussions. That was, I never thought about any signage. And I certainly do not want to make Highland Beach a dog beach or invite more people.
I have to
That-
say, my thought was really, I just pride in my community. I just wanted a sign that says you're entering Highland Beach. Period. I didn't want to go into leashes and poop cleanup and stuff like that. You're entering Highland Beach, a proud community or something like that.
Well,
That's all I was really interested in.
we better rephrase our motion now. Do you want to rephrase the motion to that effect? Mr.
Yeah.
Halpern?
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we recommend to the commission that we take pride in our community and install "Welcome to Highland Beach," or "You're now entering Highland Beach," or some other word similar to that on the north and south side of the town, on the beaches. So people are aware they've come into our town.
Do we have a second on that motion? I don't believe we have
Okay,
a second.
I withdraw.
All right, let's pass
Sorry.
forward now. Now, I believe it. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Braun. And let's go forward now with the status report, which basically is item number 6A of our agenda. And I'm turning the matter over to Town Planner Allen, who's going to give us her presentation.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Again, for the record, Ingrid Allen, Town Planner. So in your agenda memorandum for this item, I provided a status on the various board recommendations that were made at the July 1st, 2020 meeting. The recommendations were incorporated into a board action report, which I've gone ahead and attached to the agenda memorandum. It's attachment number 1. So this board action report was considered by the Town Commission at their August 4th, 2020 meeting. And in the memorandum, I've gone ahead and provided some of the discussion from the Town Commission on your recommendations. So let's start with the purchasing and distributing of reusable grocery bags and the addition of the beach bucketries. The consensus from the Town Commission was really that they needed more information regarding these particular items. More information, specifically the amount of bags, the amount of bucket trees, the cost for these bags, the cost for the beach bucket trees, and really how to facilitate these initiatives that the board wants to move forward with. Now, I did sit down with the town manager. He did give me the direction to go ahead and do some research on the cost of the grocery bags and also the prospect of the beach bucket trees. In attachment number 2, which is in your agenda packets, I provided various examples of the reusable bags. Actually, Teresa Cuevas did this research on the bags. I didn't put them on a PowerPoint because it would be very difficult to see. But again, if you look at those 2 pages, the first page is your standard type of reusable bag. I've gone ahead and put on the right-hand corner there the price range. You can see that the prices range anywhere from 67 cents a bag to $4.19 a bag. And then the minimum purchase also ranges anywhere from 75 bags that you have to purchase minimum up to 250. The second page is also the reusable type bag, but a lot of these are made from recycled materials. So the cost of the bag goes up in price, as you can see. These types of bags range from $1.69 to $8.99 per bag. And the minimum purchase ranges from 25 bags to 75 bags. Moving on to the beach buckets. Actually, I do have the PowerPoint. Teresa, if you could kindly put that up for me. If we go to the next slide. Yes. So I did reach out to the city of Boca Raton and to the city of Boynton Beach. I reached out to their sustainability staff. Both these municipalities use beach buckets. Now, the city of Boca Raton, what they basically offer is these type of galvanized steel buckets. And typically what they're providing is a sign next to it, which basically highlights the instructions. So I've put here in the, I know it's a little bit hard to read the sign. Actually, let me move my, so I can read what I wrote. It's a bit hard to see. You could see that their signage basically says, grab a bucket, pick up trash, empty trash, return bucket, celebrate. So that's what they offer. The city of Boynton Beach, they actually have what they call bucket stations. I did, again, speak to staff there. These were donated by the Beach Bucket Foundation in partnership with the city of Boynton Beach. They did not pay for these. And you can see there's two different styles of bucket stations. The one on the left, you could see there's the 4 buckets, and then next to it is the trash, where the trash can is. And then the picture on the right, you could see that the trash can's in the middle, and then you have the 4 different areas for the buckets. I've gone ahead and done some research on cost of buckets. If we can go to the next slide, please, Tarisha. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe, you know what, Tarisha, I think it's up one more. No, on the shared file, Tarisha, there was the PowerPoint that I put up there. It has the slide with the beach bucket costs. I've updated the slides. I put it on the share file.
Sure, bear with me one moment.
Okay.
Can I ask who empties the trash?
You mean at those municipalities?
Yeah.
They have staff, municipal staff that empties the trash. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but we basically right now, we have trash cans on the beach, and I was advised by the town manager that we have our town staff go out there 3 days a week to pick up the trash in those trash cans. While Tarisha's pulling up the, oh, here it is. Okay, so these are just some examples of beach buckets. Again, the galvanized type steel bucket, it's a bit more costly, as you could see on the prices there. The plastic type buckets, obviously a little bit more cost efficient. And we were discussing possibly putting or creating some sort of sticker similar to what the city of Boca Raton has on their signage about, you know, grab a bucket, clean up, you know, pick up the trash, empty the trash and return the bucket, and then celebrate. Something that's sort of, I should say, a sticker, something like that can be placed on these buckets. Another discussion or continued discussion by the commission at their August 4th meeting was about being able to communicate a little bit better with regards to recommendations that are made by not only the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board, but by other boards in the town with the town commission and vice versa. So what really came out of that discussion was the creation of some sort of recommendation memorandum. And again, I've attached a draft of this memorandum in attachment number 4. So again, just so there's, again, better communication as far as intent of a particular recommendation, this type of form would be filled out moving forward. Some of the other recommendations that the board made at the July meeting, one is hiring of an environmental maintenance employee to traverse the beach and pick up debris. On May 19, 2020, the town adopted a hiring freeze during the state of the local emergency, which was declared again as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was denoted in resolution number 20-009. I've provided that information again on the agenda memorandum for this item. And as I just mentioned a moment ago, the trash cans that are currently on the beach, those are emptied 3 days a week. And I asked, well, if the staff that's going out there to empty the trash, if they should see something, some sort of trash that's not necessarily in the trash can, but, you know, nearby, would they go ahead and remove it? I was told, yeah, if it's, reasonable, if it could fit, if it's not super far away. I mean, if it's within the vicinity, they would go ahead and pick up that trash that, again, may not be within the can, but, nearby.
Excuse me, Ms. Allen,
And
could
the-
I interrupt you for one moment, please?
Sure.
It was my understanding that your presentation was going to be placed, it was going to put us in a position where we could discuss the items you're presenting on an item by item basis, so as
Okay.
to provide some type of recommendation back to the commission. Because it wasn't considered to be unfinished business under a different topic heading. And we really, if we keep jumping from one to the other, is it your vision that we're going to go back one by one and address each of your agenda items? Or do you want us to, address them? Or was your vision that we address them at the end of your discussion? Because at this point, I'd like to pursue a discussion on the reusable grocery bags or the bucket trees, and then
Yeah.
move on to the next topic of maintenance before we go forward. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. I was just going to, again, go over the update, again, the status of these recommendations, and then the board can discuss as they see fit.
Well, as I said, I think
But
it'd be
if you want to
more
stop me,
logical-
that's fine.
As I said, I apologize for breaking your train of thought, but I thought it'd be important and probably beneficial if we discussed your first topic before we went
Okay,
on to the
no
next
worries.
topic and so on.
No worries.
So I had the opportunity to look over the board's, the commission's thought process on that. I also considered, I'm going to throw this out to the board now. One of the things we have to consider, and it wasn't my vision to begin with, they would use something as sophisticated as the Boynton Beach model, which I thought was very nice, but it will also be costly and we'd have to have it as someone donated. I'm talking about the containers or furniture, which actually holds buckets, is that we have a situation where we have to put up something which is both economically feasible and productive for our residents. A lot of beach easements don't have access points where they can accommodate that kind of a situation or that kind of a arrangement. By the same token, I'd like the board to consider that if we provide reusable bags, such as the ones that were presented by Ms. Allen in her diagram, then we're inviting the possibility of the bags being repurposed without possibly without the intention of the residents and disappearing from our system. And of course, we then have to replenish it. The buckets sound like a better idea because number one, they're more practical in the sense they're going to be reusable at all times. And secondly, it's a possibility that they're not going to be repurposed as easily. By repurposed, I mean to leave the beach area without our control. So my suggestion to the board is that they consider the idea of a bucket tree, such as what I envisioned when Member Matherman actually mentioned it, literally put up a bucket tree, not like Boca has done with a A-frame sign, but a tree which holds 2-gallon buckets of some sort, label them, and punch holes in the bottom of the buckets so rain will not accumulate in them when they're not in use, and effectively make them so that residents would be unlikely to want to use them for any other purpose other than collecting the trash on our beach.
Brilliant.
We might be able to get Home Depot to cooperate and give us either a break on their prices for $2.39 a piece or whatever they are for 2-gallon buckets. And we could then use I like Ms. Allen's idea of the sticker, which would be, I suppose, a lot more economically feasible to make in bulk and then label these buckets and replenish them accordingly. This way we have given the residents the option of taking a 2-gallon bucket, which is not that heavy, plastic, because I don't think metal is practical. It gets heavy to begin with, and walk onto the beach with that. This is just my thought process because unfortunately people tend to take possession of things and not forget to return them. But a 2-gallon bucket with perforations at the bottom labeled Highland Beach, a collection, whatever, or some artful way of presenting the problem would give the impetus to return them to where they came from after they were used. Does that sound like a plausible idea to the board?
Absolutely.
If I may, since this was originally my idea, I agree with you, Steve, 100%. Definitely not the metal bucket. They're too heavy. And I envisioned a tree as well, although I have to say I love that what Boynton did with that built-in whole thing. And if they're getting them donated for free, those would be awesome if we have a place to put them. But I wasn't aware of the bags. Were they supposed to be used to pick up trash from the beach? Because
Yeah,
I don't think that would really, I don't think that's a great idea.
I think it would just give us more trash, actually.
Yeah, and you have to remember to bring the bag with you. This way you go to the beach, the bucket's there.
Right. So
I
mean,
thought
don't
of
know how-
two different ideas. One was,
Yeah, I did too. I thought that the bags were just for like information and
Yeah,
awareness,
I wasn't sure. as
and the buckets were separate. They were for the beach cleanup.
Okay.
But I also like the Boynton Beach setup, but I don't, they had to pay for the actual container. Sorry.
The wood structure?
Yeah, the wood structure, they had to pay for that one.
I thought that was all done, they were donated to them.
Was it? That's what I wasn't sure of.
I'm not 100% sure, but if they were, that's the way we should go, because those are really nice.
I agree with you.
Yes, I was advised by the city of Boynton Beach, as I mentioned, they were donated by the Beach Bucket Foundation. They didn't pay anything is what they told me.
That would be great. The question is, where would we put them?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd each to the actual easements to the beach for the residential easements would have to be the points. We'd have to have, how many easements do we have to the beach, Miss Allen? Do you know?
I have no idea.
So let's
We have
assume at
no-
least 10.
I don't know that there's any research been done on that I'm aware of.
Well, let me ask you another question then. How many refuse containers do we have on the beach right now that we collect?
I don't have the amount. I could find out and advise the board, but I'm not sure.
Because that would be the ideal place to put this type of a system, next to the actual garbage pail where they would dump the buckets. So we wouldn't have to break free of the town's responsibility or add to the town's responsibility to add bucket. This is, again, I'm just thinking this through with you all, because I figured it's a situation where it has to be practical, it has to be reliable, and it has to survive weather. So I don't know how the Boynton container, I agree with you, the Boynton furnishing looks really nice, but whether we can get someone to donate that or not is a matter of concern. And where we put it, obviously, is a matter that Diane brought up, or what we can do. So we can make a recommendation to look into that and go and try to look into that. Go ahead, Ms. Stern.
I was going to say, one place you can put it in is where the Milani property is on the beach.
Why would you say that?
Because with everything going on and there's no one there, that's between Boca Highlands and I forget which other buildings are, that would be one stand, one area to put it.
We want to make it very obvious to the residents, though. We want people coming onto the beach to see it. And in the case of Member Matheson and I, we share an easement to the beach, and X number of people walk by it every day, and they would then see the actual information on the sign. They'd see the buckets, and if they were so disposed, they would pick up the actual bucket and walk the beach area with it in hand to facilitate.
Do you have to get permission? Sorry, do you have to get permission from each building association to put it on?
I would imagine that would be the case for these.
Yes, if it's private property.
The easements are all private to the individuals
Yeah.
that have access to them. So yes.
Well, may I add something with regards like to an actual tree? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Finish. I'll go after you.
Being that you
Please.
mentioned the tree, I did quite a bit of research. I couldn't really find an example of an actual tree, where you would hang the bucket. I couldn't find anything like that.
I will see if I can get a picture of that. I had one at one point,
Okay.
and that's how I first came up with the idea, and I thought it was just genius, because I can tell you, I walked the beach yesterday, and with this storm that just came, there is so much debris on the beach, and you need more than a plastic bag. Some of it's big and heavy and sharp. The bucket would be perfect.
Steve, 3 comments. One, about Yamato Rock. My concern would be that is a major fishing area. Those buckets will be perfect for the fishermen to use. At Yamato
Not with
Rock.
purpose. That's why I suggested we perforate the bottom, Sam.
Ah,
Drill
good
holes.
point. Ah, perfect. Missed that. Number two, I know I'd love a bucket or two. We'll pay for it at our condo, that we can have it at our condo, right at the bottom of our steps. I'll pay for a couple of buckets just to have here that our people at our condo could take with them. So
But-
if we can put that in the plan. Number three, Steve, I just got a text 10 minutes ago. I have to testify at 1 o'clock in court on 4 of my kids.
I'm sorry, no problem. We'll try
I
to.
have to,
By
I'm
one.
waiting for my lawyer to call me. When she calls me, I have to hop off and prepare testimony.
No problem at all. We'll definitely.
Okay, and if I could just make one more comment, the problem with just leaving a bucket there is on a windy day, it's gonna blow away.
Oh, not by us. We have a
You need
piece
the
underneath,
tree to hang
we
it
have a
on.
place to leave it. We have
Okay,
a place
that
for
would
our
be great.
buckets.
I,
And we
I,
can
I
actually
like.
hang them up on hooks underneath in this one area.
I
Well,
like the
we
idea of a
got
bucket tree. I think the bucket tree can be made easily out of 4x4 material and 2x4 material. It can be virtually set up in such a way as to make it open to the wind, and the buckets can hang there. And we do have the responsibility of picking them up after a storm, but because they're perforated, they won't hold water. So the water will drip out of them and they'll effectively go right to the ground. And because they're perforated, like I just mentioned to Emma Halpern, that it'd be less attractive for someone to want to bring them home for any other purpose than to collect trash. And if they wanted to do so, that's obviously not something we control. But at least we'd be putting something in a position where the residents would have something to collect. And as you pointed out, it's very sharp debris. A lot of garbage really isn't amenable to be putting in a bag. And the bags only will facilitate more garbage on our beach. And I think we're clearly not desirous of having a situation where we bring more plastic products to the beach that would possibly end up, in the mouths of turtles or anything else that basically would come to our environment. So on that note, to clean this up a little bit, I'd like to make a recommendation in line with Ms. Allen's report and try to frame this. So I need a motion to, Ms. Allen, I have to go back to you for a moment. Now that we've addressed this to some degree, how do we present this so as to go back to the commission? Do you want a recommendation as to what we have in mind, or do you want further development of the process?
Well, a recommendation, I mean, if you are all on the same page, a recommendation, and then considering those items that are on the recommendation memorandum. If I just may add one more thing, if you do want to move forward with a bucketry, you mentioned 2x4s. I want to make you aware that in section 30-81 of the code, it says that fences, walls, poles, or stakes, and I'm assuming that if you do a bucketry, there would be stakes. They are prohibited to be placed east of the coastal construction control line. Now, the coastal construction control line, does go along. It's pretty much everything east of A1A. The line does move a bit. So it says that any type of stake, again, east of the coastal construction line is prohibited unless you get approval by the Department of Environmental Protection. So just be mindful of that. If you do move forward with a recommendation for some sort of being put into the sand, you may have to get Florida Department of Environmental Protection approval for it.
Well, that changes everything.
Well, can't we just research the setup that Boynton Beach has and see if we can do something like that?
A bucket station?
Yeah.
I think we're overanalyzing this because I don't think the DEP would really care if we put bucket trees on the easements themselves. If we put it on the beach, they would definitely have an issue about that. But if we're putting it on the easements and we're offering it to each individual association or community which has an easement, and we put it on their pathway or adjacent to their pathway, I don't believe that that's going to fall into the problematic situation with the DEP. And they're going to want to be involved with that. If we do go beyond that and we put it at the base of the steps to the beach, then we probably might have a situation. But there again, we have a garbage pail there theoretically. So we're only offering to put this bucketry next to a town refuse center. And I don't think they're going to have a real issue with that. And I don't really know whether it falls as a stake. It's more of a collection facility, which I think is allowed under the code. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't read it recently, but I believe collection receptacles are allowed to be placed on the beach under the purview of the town ordinances and under the DEP. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Allen.
Right, and a collection receptacle is not a stake in the ground, though. It's not a stake.
Well, neither is this. This is an actual I guess it would be a stand of some sort. I don't know. We'd have to.
Depends how it plays out, right? It could be,
Right.
not be, just I wanted you all to be mindful of it, that's all. Yeah, just something to consider.
But right now, I want to reach a conclusion to the conversation for a moment and get somewhere in regards to giving it back to the commission. So I'd like a motion to be made to consider the idea of a bucketry which holds plastic buckets that effectively would be placed with labels on them so as to provide the town residents or visitors to the beach with the opportunity to facilitate the collection of miscellaneous refuse on the beach. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Yes, you do. I shall make that motion.
I'll second it.
Do I have a vote, please? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, yeah, aye.
In line with that motion, I'd like to follow the format of the recommendation memorandum that Ms. Allen has provided. This is sent to the commission from the Natural Resources Advisory Board, Preservation Advisory Board, subject being the actual implementation of a bucket tree to facilitate the collection of miscellaneous beach refuse. The action is going to be, we're going to ask the actual town manager or his staff to facilitate getting actual costs associated with placing a wood structure that would hold miscellaneous 2-gallon buckets that could then be labeled by the town and prepared in such a way as to provide the citizens with the opportunity to facilitate the collection of refuse. We've discussed briefly as a background, the commission was concerned about how much this will cost and what will the overall expenses be like. Bearing in mind that we're now zeroing in on the possibility of using plastic buckets instead of using bags or any other type of a container, that should facilitate what amounts to being a better understanding of what we're looking to do. We're also going to ask the town manager and the staff to facilitate our communication with the Department of Environmental Protection so as to avoid any possible implication of having that bucketry now have a negative effect on the beach. Fiscal impact is going to be conditioned on whatever the town manager and the staff determine what effectively it will cost to assemble these bucket trees and whether we can get donations of the actual buckets and the cost of labeling. Attachments in the report. We don't really have it at this point, but I'd like the slides that were prepared by Ms. Allen, including the ones which involve the actual bucket containers, to be attached to this recommendation so as to provide the commission with a visible recommendation of what we're looking at and what we're recommending. And the recommendation itself would be the motion we made moments ago. On that note, let's go forward now with Ms. Ingrid's next item on the presentation schedule. Ms. Allen?
Okay. Yes, so the next item was with regards to hiring of an environmental maintenance employee to traverse the beach and pick up debris. So as I was mentioning earlier, the town did adopt a hiring freeze back on May 19, 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as I also mentioned earlier, that the town currently does empty trash cans that are located on the beach 3 days a week. I don't know if the board has any questions about this recommendation that you all made. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Opening up to the board. Anyone have any questions regarding that topic? I guess no further action at this point, Ms. Allen.
Okay. Moving on. The next.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Steve, I'm gonna have to bail out. I gotta read the stat. It's a new statute that came out July 1st that my lawyer just found out about. So I gotta go read the statute and get prepped up so I can write my testimony. I'm sorry, everybody.
No problem at all.
Good luck.
No BS. I found out 10 minutes ago about this. And the thing was at 1 o'clock. I was supposed to listen in and now I'm not. Okay.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
your
Good luck.
testimony.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Going forward now.
Yes.
Does anyone have any
So.
questions? Sorry, go ahead.
So the next recommendation was that town staff put Dan Belante's PowerPoint presentation on the town website. The town clerk did actually find the PowerPoint presentation The title of it is The Importance of Dune Restoration. This was actually presented by Mr. Belante to the board on August 23rd, 2018. I know with the previous board meetings that some of the board members weren't exactly sure when it was presented. So as I said, the clerk's office did find that presentation. I've gone ahead and attached it in your agenda memoranda, in your agenda packets. And the presentation is actually now on your natural resources board page that's on the town's website. So it is available for anyone who would like to review it.
Oh.
Do we have any comments from the board?
No, I'm on a board Zoom.
What's left of the board? I'm sorry. By all, I think we can pass over that, Ms. Allen, to the next question, to your next comment.
Okay, the last recommendation to address is consider hiring Dan Belante to complete a survey of the dunes in the town and have town staff send a questionnaire to residents regarding the dunes on their property. So what I have referenced in your agenda memorandum for this item is that the town commission is considering for adoption the 2020 Strategic Priorities Plan, which includes a list of planned projects and initiatives. Now on that list, there is a dune management and restoration item. So this initiative will be ultimately defined and how outreach will be done to the public will be determined by another initiative, which is on this strategic priorities plan, which is community survey and engagement process. So it's really best to look at engagement from a holistic point of view and not have the board, piecemeal and do something different. Again, being that there is this priority, this initiative with regards to dune management and restoration, this is again considered a priority by the town commission. They're going hopefully to adopt the plan as it's been drafted. So I think these types of issues with regards to how people feel about their dunes and the status of their dunes, this should really be addressed as part of this broader initiative. That's, again, as I said, part of the strategic priorities plan.
Well, I'd like to make a comment. I hope that is a high priority because right now our dunes are in really bad shape, especially after this weekend. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows, there are staircases that were washed away over the weekend, and it's really bad out there.
Well, not only that, there's also furnishings all over the beach at this point.
Yes, there were chairs yesterday. And the dunes they're gone.
Honestly, I'm sorry that Sam Halpern had to leave us because he actually raised the issue in the prior meeting, and this is also, Ms. Allen, plays into unfinished business, about sending a questionnaire to the public as to what they consider to be a priority. Right. And whether or not how involved they want to be in regards to amending the situation on the beach by planting the grass and taking the initiatives that Mr. Belmont, I think it's Belante, recommended. I was very persuaded by the report, by the way. The PowerPoint was very well done. And I think if residents understood that the PowerPoint will save them money because when the dunes don't wash away, they don't have to restore them. And although most of us don't have the privilege of owning property on the beach, I speak for myself at least, it's a situation where it's quite costly to restore those dunes. And they're responsible for them and they have to insure their property to restore the dunes to facilitate safety. So on that note, Mr. Halpern in a prior meeting had suggested sending out a public questionnaire. Is that part of what the town, I'm throwing this back to you, Ms. Allen, is that part of what the town has suggested should be in that questionnaire? Is that going to be that type of a topic, or is there something else you had in mind? And
well, again, this strategic priorities plan, the item, I should say, the planned initiative of dune management and restoration, it's number 12 out of 19 plan initiatives. The strategic priorities plan doesn't have a specific description for this dune management and restoration initiative. But again, that's going to be coming. It's not in the plan right now, but it will be. It will be defined. And as far as outreach to the public and dealing with this planned initiative, will be part of the item itself, the initiative itself.
Is it the town's vision to make an enforcement situation out of this so as to make it a priority for residents to live along the coast to facilitate the dune restoration? Or is the town
And-
planning on spending the money to do it itself?
Again, the planned initiative, it has not, there's no description of it in the strategic priorities plan. I would encourage the board to listen to the next town commission meeting. I think it's going to be possibly in the October meeting when they will be considering the adoption of the priorities plan. You all might want to listen to that particular meeting. You can get live access to the commission meetings via the town's website. Again, I'm looking at the list of planned initiatives as it was presented to the commission as part of a draft. And again, I don't see anything, no description of what it entails. Again, this dune restoration item. So I don't really have the information to share with you now.
Okay, if I could interject here. I mean, a questionnaire is great, but I don't really think it matters what the people think. The people that live on the beach and own that property have an obligation to maintain it. It's not a choice at this point. It must be done. So it doesn't matter if the people back it or not. It's a requirement. When you buy a house there, you have to maintain the dune.
Well, if you're talking with all respect, Diane, if we're talking about enforcement, it's beyond the purview of this particular board.
Well, yes, it does need to be enforced. But isn't that code enforcement? Don't we have code enforcement?
That seems to be the case because we can encourage under subsection D of our powers and duties in the 2.140, we can encourage homeowners and associations to keep adequate levels of vegetation, but we don't have the power, privilege, or desire to get involved in the code enforcement. So if it becomes, that's why I asked Town Planner Allen if she was going to make this into a priority and there was going to be an actual ordinance that requires individuals to live along the beach to maintain this property in such a way as to provide this type of security for their dune. That's one thing. Then it becomes a code enforcement. That's pretty, as a matter of fact, honestly, I don't know whether we can do that because it's private property, which is another problem we faced in the past and we discussed. I don't know whether you can force a private property owner to facilitate management of their own property, but it certainly would be an attractive solution to give them some impetus to do what they have to do to manifest the dunes that we need to keep the beach in one piece. I think it's in their own best interest personally, because I thought after 2000, right.
Like approximately 10 years, 5 years.
Who's talking at this point? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, I think it's in they realize it's in their best interest, and the effort to try to do that is in our best interest. But unfortunately, it's a situation where we don't have that. Ms. Allen, you can correct me. We don't have the right responsibility or desire to be an enforcement agency. We're just simply going to recommend that the town consider perhaps a code change that would make that a possibility.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a problem hearing. Yes, I believe you are correct. It would be outside your purview.
Okay.
If you all recall, I had provided a July meeting, right? Those provisions that are in the code with regards to private beaches, right? And I could read it to you if you all would like to hear it again. It says here, in regard to that portion of the beach determined to be private property, no person shall place or deposit on any such beach any trash, refuse, or debris. Further, the owner of the private property shall not allow trash, refuse, or debris to remain on his property for a period of time greater than 7 days after notification by the town. Any such trash, refuse, or debris located upon private beachfront property shall be properly disposed of in a manner otherwise provided by the codes and regulations of the town. And then right below that, there's a violation provision that they're subject to penalties prescribed by the Code Enforcement Board for each day a violation is determined to exist.
But that's only for cleaning up. That's not for planting material that would facilitate a stronger dune situation along the coast.
That's correct.
That's another step in the other direction regarding implementation of or forcing individuals to change their property, basically. And I'm not sure whether the town would like to do that or not. I don't think it's really within the scope of our.
I agree. It's not part of
board.
your purview.
Right. So on that note, I'm going to pass over the possible, unless a board member would like to make a motion to the effect that the town change that. we can make a recommendation to the, we're definitely entitled to make a recommendation to the commission to explore the possibility of implementing a change to the ordinances to facilitate that type of a outcome. But we're really just on the border of being in a position to do that based upon our powers and duties. So
Again, I would recommend that again, as I mentioned, the commission is moving forward this strategic priorities plan, and dune restoration's on there. I would wait to see how that particular plan initiative works out. Yes, it will take time, but it needs to be defined. As I said, it needs to be massaged, the whole plan initiative. I know you would like to see something happen a lot quicker, but it really needs to be looked at holistically. And I'm not saying that that's not the intent of the board, but I think that it's a plan initiative, something to be defined and described is probably a good move to wait for that initiative to play out.
Has the town asked us to do, excuse me, has the town commission asked us to do anything in this regard, or they're just notifying us of their prospective plans regarding the beach development?
Are you talking about this, the
initiative? Do they want any feedback from us in regards to how the initiative should read? Do they want us to do a research or otherwise determine whether we should go forward with any recommendations on this?
I'm not aware of any, I'm not aware of any recommendation from the town commission at this point. Again, it's still at draft. I think maybe, and I see maybe Teresa could chime in, but I think once, if the strategic priorities plan is adopted as it's currently written per the draft, I guess when that initiative does come to play, then I would think would be appropriate for the commission to, maybe have the board look at it, make recommendations, so on and so forth. I'm assuming that's how things would probably play out.
If I may, just to follow up on Town Planner Allen, that is correct. The commission's intent with the strategic priorities was just to put together the list. That's the first step, the list of initiatives that they would like to handle going forward. At this point, they haven't conceptualized an actual initiative for the dune restoration, but when that does happen, I'm sure that they will engage the board.
Okay, I don't think there's anything further to discuss on that topic unless you want to go further in discussing the Dan Belante's survey should be implemented or made part of the actual town website, I believe it was called, attaching it as part of the, I do have a motion. I move that we move forward on trying to educate the town residents in some manner as to the necessity of trying to facilitate dune restoration. And I think Mr. Belante's PowerPoint goes a long way in that regard. And it wouldn't hurt if we can somehow publish the fact that it exists to the town. On that note, I'm making a motion that we make a recommendation to the town commission to facilitate that and have Dan Belante's PowerPoint attached to some aspect of our website so individuals who have property on the ocean can realize that there is an opportunity for their participation in securing the dunes on their property. Do I have a second?
I second.
May I interject, Chair? The presentation is on your page, on your webpage, on the town's website. It's on there.
Oh, yeah, but we need the town commission to make it public, or to at least to try to publicize it.
Well, it is public. Anyone can go see it.
But you mean like make put it in a newsletter or something like that?
Right, exactly.
The manager's newsletter.
Advertise it, yeah. I mean, it's up to you. I'll table
I
it if you
agree
like.
with that. I think it should be made more public.
So the recommendation, really in line with your memorandum, Town Planner Allen, is going to basically read that we're making a recommendation to the commission to better publicize the necessity of preserving the dunes on the beach by advertising or otherwise bringing attention to Mr. Belante's planting schemes and schedules and the removal of exotic plant material, if I remember correctly, and the cutting back of sea grape and so on, these are all things that are part of his report. So I'm not really trying to go into the whole report, but I did read it and I did watch the entire presentation. And I was persuaded that it would be beneficial if more people understood what the benefits were of that report. And I know, as I said, I appreciate the fact that it may be attached to our website, but I don't believe it's the message is getting out there. So the motion really is an intention of the board, the commissioners, to facilitate better education to the public. And maybe if they address it at the meeting, at their, at their monthly meetings, it might effectively just do just that. Hopefully someone's paying attention. We'll find
Chair
out.
Marks, for the record, can you just state the recommendation clearly so I can capture it, please?
Surely. To the commission from the board, subject being the publication of Dan Belente's Dune Preservation PowerPoint. The action required is to better educate the public by publicizing the availability of this information to the public and encouraging homeowners who have property along the coastal area in Highland Beach take note of the fact that the actual PowerPoint will give them ideas as to how they can preserve their property and of course help the town preserve the dunes, which are an integral part of the structure of our beaches. For background, we already have that particular PowerPoint available to us, so there'd be no need to develop anything further. There's no fiscal impact that I can see in this matter, unless of course there's some type of a cost associated with amending our websites or publishing some type of material. But I envision it would probably go right into the town newsletter if possible, which I believe is still published on a bi-monthly basis. I'm not really quite sure about that. Attachments are just the publication itself or the PowerPoint. And the recommendation is basically that we need to educate the public as to what the public can do to help the town and its own needs in regards to making this project a worthwhile enterprise. Is that fair enough? Or was I too verbose to tell me about? I tried to make it, I tried to summarize it. Was that correct? Was everyone
I heard
agree
the
with that?
last line, which was the actual recommendation itself, so.
I was just trying to use the format that was given
No,
to
no,
me.
no, it's great. It's great for the format. I got the recommendation when you said recommendation at the end, so.
Ms. Cuevas, you had a question?
Yes, if I may, and you may want to keep the recommendation as it is, but I just confirmed with the town manager that we can include the education piece on dune restoration in the manager's minute that will be coming out later this week. So you can still go forward with your recommendation if you want to see something a little bit more verbose taken to the commission, but as far as including it in the manager's minute, that won't be a problem at all.
Thank you.
Great.
I consider that pretty much exhausted that topic. Onward and upward. I don't think.
Before we move
have
on, I just wanted to say that, Miss Allen, I did find a picture of the tree, the bucket tree. And I think if you Google Fillabag, Fillabag in Daytona Beach. Otherwise I can stop by City Hall and show you on my phone exactly what it looks like. But I think if you go to Fillabag, you'll see exactly what it is. Now they do have a post in the sand, with thin arms, and they have so I don't know if that would be against our rules or not, but I do have a picture that I can stop by and show you.
Well, if you can email it to me, but I could reach out to you after the meeting and I can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Allen, we're back to you now. Do you have anything further to make comments in regards to your presentation?
I'm sorry, which item? The next.
No, we went through your whole presentation, I believe, but I want to make sure that
Yes,
you're
I'm fine.
satisfied that I mean, do you have anything further to add to your presentation?
I have nothing further to add.
Great. Then we're going to move forward then to the approval of the minutes, if you don't mind. Item number 7 of our agenda. I presume all of you have had an opportunity to review the July 1st, 2020 regular minutes. Are there any corrections you'd like to make to the minutes?
No. Yeah.
Hearing there are none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
May I have a vote, please? Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Good. I consider that to be the motion is passed. Unfinished business, I don't believe we have any unfinished business beyond what we've already discussed in the context of Town Planner Allen's presentation. Therefore, I'm going to suggest that that topic is closed unless someone has some other ideas on unfinished business. I don't believe there is any. Onward and upward to topic number 9 on our agenda. This is a discussion on community greening. And in doing the review of the actual material before this meeting, I took the liberty of utilizing the information that Town Planner Allen presented in regards to the January 2020 meeting of the commission, where they discussed community greening. Community greening is obviously an association or some type of organization that was created in Delray to facilitate the implementation of more trees and other, I guess, community-oriented projects to facilitate the beautification of Delray. There was grave reservations by some of the commissioners at that time in January as to whether this would fit into the context of Highland Beach. Therefore, I'm going to basically open the discussion by stating that I have a concern myself that community greening model doesn't necessarily fit into our model, insofar as community greening is focused more on urban areas that have streets and trees. Although we have all those things, thank God, our greatest concern seems to be the beach. And I was going to ask the town planner if she knows of any other community organizations other than community greening that might better fit a profile of a community such as ours, which has significant beach exposure and therefore needs some more beach-oriented nonprofit associations or some other aspect of it. And again, I'm throwing this back to Ms. Allen for a moment because I believe she can give us more of a discussion as to how she feels about community greening and its ideas and implementation. Ms. Allen.
Really only speak to community greening. As far as any organizations, I mean, I'd have to really look into that. Again, the item is again about community greening. Just very quickly, they're an urban forestry nonprofit, which is based in Delray Beach. And again, this item, just for clarity purposes, this item was moved to the board by Commissioner Peggy Gossett-Seiden at the February 4, 2020 Town Commission meeting. I don't know if the board recalls, or if some of you looked at that January 7, 2020 Town Commission meeting, community greening actually did a presentation on their efforts, nonprofit efforts. Now, if the board recalls, when we were-
Planner Allen, can I interject for just a moment?
Sure.
I'm looking to see if we have enough members to continue. So I would like to do another roll call just to ensure that we do meet a quorum to continue this meeting.
I don't know if we have to, Ms. Thompson, I'm not sure we really have to have a continuing quorum to continue the meeting. We only have to have one.
We have to have a quorum to continue the meeting.
Okay. All right.
Member Amberling Stern,
Here.
Member McNamee,
Here.
Member Halpern, Member Braun,
Here.
Member Tertan, Vice Chair Mirage,
Here.
and Chairperson Parks. Okay.
Here.
So we can continue the meeting. We do have a quorum.
So as I was stating, for the March Spring Fling that was obviously canceled as a result of COVID, we did coordinate with Community Greening for the tree giveaway. If you all remember, we were going to do a tree giveaway, and that's really the main scope of Community Greening, right? They deal with a lot of municipalities and coordinate tree giveaways and what have you. Now, I did reach out to some sustainability staff over at the City of Boca Raton and Boynton Beach once again. And I asked them, you know, are they familiar with Community Greening? They did advise me that they do work with them, again, for tree giveaways and what have you. I had asked these two municipalities whether they approved any type of resolution. They told me that they did not have a resolution, that they just work with them as necessary. Again, these are much larger cities. And as a chair reference, I mean, these are cities that, you know, really have more of an urban forest type of scenario, unlike the town. So I think the intent of Commissioner Peggy Gossett-Seiden's the the intent of this item for her was to do a resolution. I don't know that it's necessarily warranted, again, given the scope of community greening, which is, again, an emphasis on tree giveaway. That's not to say that the town wouldn't work with community greening in the future. Hopefully, when we have another spring fling and the reality of today's situation with COVID, once that changes and we are able to have a spring fling, I know that staff, would reach out to community greening to coordinate some sort of tree giveaway. They were very accommodating. So I'll leave it up for a board discussion.
So if I understand correctly, Commissioner Gossett-Simon wanted us to recommend a resolution in this matter, or
yes,
I'm not clear on this.
Yeah, she wanted to have some sort of resolution that we would go ahead and work with community greening, sort of embracing the idea of partnering with them. And as I said, I don't know that a resolution would be warranted. The city of Boca Raton and the city of Boynton Beach, they just work with community greening. They don't necessarily have a resolution with them. They just work with them as needed. But again, that's up for board discussion.
Well, I have a question then back to you, since you researched community greening as an organization. From what I understand and from what the website shows, they send groups out and actually plant trees, or actually facilitate the planting of trees. And they give away trees, obviously, too.
Right.
They've been pretty much dormant for the last several months because of the COVID-19 crisis, because the calendar reflects only one day in September where they had a tree giveaway on the 12th, I believe. And I think they have one day scheduled in October for that. But how would they work? In other words, besides Spring Fling, which obviously is past us, how would they work with us, or what would you expect of them in a partnership with community greening right now?
Well, again, the town doesn't have a lot of public land, right? It's not like, as I said, larger municipalities that have parks and public land, a lot of recreational areas, whether they're passive or what have you. That's not necessarily the reality with the town. I mean, I've been here a short time. I think this, having them coordinate with the town as far as the spring fling was a great idea. And that may be the only way we partner with them. I mean, there could be potential for other items or other situations. Let me also just add, the town is involved with a coastal resilience partnership. There are several municipalities that are part of it. This coastal resilience partnership, they're in the process of creating through a consultant a climate change vulnerability assessment. I mentioned this at the July meeting. I mentioned that this vulnerability assessment is looking at various threats. One of the threats, because they've already provided the town with steps 1 and 2 of, these are reports. There's basically 5 steps that they are required to perform. They provided us 2 reports so far. And under the threat of extreme heat, the climate change vulnerability assessment will address this issue. And one way to mitigate extreme heat is to increase your tree canopy. So we may be able to pull some information from this vulnerability assessment as far as tree canopy. Again, how much of that can be utilized or implemented in the town, we'll have to look at that. Again, if there's not a lot of public lands, a lot of private property. But I just wanted to put that out there, that this vulnerability assessment is looking at tree canopy. I know they're looking at some tree canopy studies that have been done in other municipalities and looking at tree canopy data and sort of how it addresses this, one of the issues of extreme heat.
In consideration of the fact that most of our public land is along A1A, which is controlled by the state because it's a state highway, and we'd have to go to the state DOT to be able to facilitate the type of planting schedule, I imagine, along the highway, because they control the easements.
Right.
It sounds to me like we're up against a really difficult situation, because unless the DOT approves some kind of planting schedule, we can't even change the canopy, which personally I think I've recommended in the past, because I like the idea of having a really dense canopy, we'll call it, such as Ocean Breeze had. Is it Briny Breezes or Ocean Breeze further north of us, where basically the actual roadway is encompassed by trees. Ours are more real palms and so on. And right now our canopy is also broken up by condominium associations and their properties and what they would plant and won't plant. So, I mean, I applaud that idea. And I think it'd be a great recommendation to the town to go forward with that. But I don't know where we're going to put any trees. And I don't know where I'm even concerned with where we put the trees that that community greeting gives away. I mean, are we expecting homeowners to put that on their own property?
The intent for the March Spring Fling was for the residents to take home a tree and then plant it on their property. Yeah, that was the intent.
Okay. And the type of trees that we're giving away, do you know what those were?
I remember having a discussion. It's been several months. I know, I don't remember the detail. I can look through my notes real quick while you're discussing.
Oh, and just to comment to the board members in general, I realize that this whole format is something new to all of us, and I applaud you for the patience you've exhibited in operating in a virtual meeting. But please, if you choose to walk away from your console or your phone or your iPad or whatever you're using, please mute it. And if possible, if you have anyone walking behind you or in the room with you, would you be kind enough to black out your screen so as to avoid the break in the actual continuity of our meeting?
I apologize.
It's not just you, Ms. Stern. Basically, it's a matter of it's something we all have to remember. It's a whole different ball game, basically. And we're just trying to adjust to it right now in general. But insofar as closing out this topic, I don't know what I'm really not clear as to what the commission wants us to recommend in regards to community greening. We're obviously strongly behind, I guess, as a board, anything that would help the environment of Highland Beach. I don't know whether or not partnership with community greening is necessarily necessary at this point, or whether we should explore the possibility of another type of association, or potentially even recommend a new association, or in setting up a new organization of residents in Highland Beach that participate generally as a collective and try to help the town address these issues. I don't know whether that's a possibility or not. I think we can make that recommendation, but it's entirely up to the residents themselves at that point to join forward and to move forward as a community and facilitate the benefits that would come out of that. I don't know if I'm being clear or not, so please help me out here. What are your thoughts?
Again, I don't know, it's really at the discretion of the board. Again, I was really focusing on the item, which was, if you look at the backup on this item, the agenda item requests from back in February, it says to draft a resolution to raise awareness in Highland Beach of a collective effort to improve our environment for people and nature and to create sustainable green spaces. But again, I don't know that it's within the scope of what community greening is all about. So
that was my concern. I agree
my
with
suggestion
you.
As I did. Pardon?
I agree with you. I completely. That's why I don't. I mean, first of all, we're in a quandary right now. We have a situation where COVID-19 has made group efforts into a more difficult situation. If you look at the community greening website, I don't know whether or not they're planting trees right now as a collective. I don't know whether they're sending groups out into the parks to actually facilitate digging and planting trees. That would be something of a question we'd have to ask Del Rey or whoever community greening is operating in at the moment. But one way or the other, we're in a situation where I think it's premature for us to suggest that we invite them to come into to work with us on projects that may not go anywhere. So insofar as this is a topic which probably should be raised later on, I'm going to suggest we table it right now.
That's what I
move to table it till we have more information in regards to how they're going to interact with us. Do I have a second?
Yes.
On that note, do I have a vote, please?
Yes.
I vote yes.
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 Okay, fine. Going forward with our agenda, topic 9B has already been addressed out of order, and that was a topic brought to our attention by Member Braun, and I believe we don't have to further explore that. 9C was miscellaneous suggestions by me. If you've all read the attachment to the meeting agenda today, Town Planner Allen was kind enough to attach my entire email, which had 4 points on it. And the email was basically an attempt to structure our meeting so as to provide concrete resolutions back to the actual commission. And she's done a very admirable job. I'd like to comment that Town Planner Allen has done an excellent job in formatting this meeting so we can make more useful recommendations to the commission. I really felt that we were not being clear in our directions. So with the new memorandum we now have, it should facilitate that. And I applaud all the efforts of the whole town staff in regards to that. Miscellaneous topics. I'm going to open it up to the board. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to the topics we've discussed today, or any comments to be made on it?
I saw something, I guess in the notes, in the package that we received, that said that the board can organize beach cleanups. Is that correct? Like help organize that and coordinate? I'm not sure if I read that properly. It was like a few days ago that I read it, but I just wanted a little clarification on what that means.
If you look on page 79 of your packets, we've gone ahead and included the powers and duties of the board. It's again provided in section 2-140 of the town code. And I think that's what you're referencing right now. If you look at item A, it says that, well, I'll read the sentence right before that. It says the powers and duties of the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board shall include the following. Letter A is coordinate activities related to regular beach cleanup events. I just want to remind the board that these provisions with regards to the board, these were handed out to the board, I believe it was in December. It was handed out by the town clerks, and we decided just to provide it once again, since in the chair's email, there was some discussion about what the role of the board was and directives from the commission. So I just wanted to refresh the board's memory that this is what your powers and duties are as provided in the town code. So I'll be happy to address any questions that you might have.
Further to your point, Vice Chairman Naraj, you suggest we set up an event of some sort. We definitely have the authority to make a recommendation on this.
Well, I know we've talked about it in the past about beach cleanups, but
If I can interject here for a second, we have done Highland Beach cleanups before where we met at City Hall and they gave us the little things that you use to pick, you know, the grabbers. So this has been done in the past. This would not be anything new. We could just have more days that we do it.
yeah, and I know it's like now just because of the COVID-19 challenges, that might be a little difficult now, but maybe not. I just thought it would be nice to plan an event. I know that we had talked about, but I didn't know why we haven't actually done an event, since we have the ability to coordinate something like this. It'd be nice to plan something in the future. I don't know when it, you know, or how we would begin that process, but maybe if I know we had talked about with board member Turtran, he had talked about doing monthly cleanups, or you know, every few months or every other month, something like that. But I think that it'd be nice to maybe plan something or look towards planning something.
I think it's a great idea. Honestly, I think that's a really, I think it's a great idea, and I have a suggestion for the board to consider. Why don't we first make a recommendation, of course, sorts to the commission to formalize these events, and why don't we kick off the bucket tree idea, if we eventually can get it through, with such an event, so we can alert the people who are doing the actual buckets. You know, we'll actually get the people who would normally be inspired to go out and clean the beaches to be aware of the buckets, and they would share that information with their friends and their neighbors and their families, and they would facilitate what amounts to being a project where we can make the buckets part of this in the interim between the actual, you know, formal cleanups. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I really would like to see that.
I like that idea, like the kickoff. It sounds good.
If I may interject, I think the board needs to be mindful, and I'm curious, board member Matthew mentioned that they had done beach cleanups in the past. Just mindful that it's private property on the beach. So I don't know if some property owners will be very happy, maybe they will, I don't know, but with having a coordinated beach cleanup effort with people on their property. So that's been an issue, and the board needs to be mindful of it. But I would love to hear a little bit more detail as to that previous beach cleanups. What path or where were you on the beach?
You know, we met at City Hall, and we were each given, this is several years ago, and my memory isn't that great, but we met at City Hall. They gave us the grabbers, and they gave us an area to clean. And since, you know, where I live, I cleaned more towards my area, and we spread out. There was not one complaint from any homeowner.
Okay.
I mean, I can't imagine any homeowner complaining that we're cleaning up their area of the beach. That would just be total
That
insanity.
they should have done in the first place.
Of course, but they don't.
Right.
So, you know, you can go back in your records. I know they gave us the grabbers, and we met. So this is nothing new. It's just not being done enough.
Further to the point of whether they have authority, Town Planner Allen, I've asked on several meetings, at least in December and possibly the last meeting in July, that we research the opportunity that individuals in the town have to enter certain areas of the beachfront in front of these properties as a public, as you know, as a opportunity. Because as I said to you from my own research, at least in regards to Ocean Place Estates, the public has rights to access that land, believe it or not. Now, I'm not sure whether that's absolutely the case with every single property all the way down, but I asked that we have some legal review of that because I found in the deed structure that I saw that was possible. But I really agree with Member Matherman and Ms. Stern that basically, who's going to object to us picking up their garbage? And I mean, I would be shocked and appalled to have someone come running out and screaming at me that I basically can't come on their portion of the beach to clean up garbage that's actually on their beach. Now, it's not impossible.
And I get that. Yeah, I understand that it's more to be mindful, and I don't know if I would think there might be some liability issues as well, but just something for the board to be mindful of.
Ellen, wasn't there also always an issue about Florida Sunshine Law? If we would, as a advisory board, would be all together there, would that be okay if it is a publicly invited beach cleanup? Would that be enough to cover the Florida Sunshine Law?
Well,
I think that would be a problem.
I don't think so. I mean, this would be an event, and it's not.
Okay.
Public hearing,
So
right? It would be an event.
Yeah, because in the past, it was always a problem to organize as an advisory board a cleanup or go with people to the beach. It was always mentioned, you know, with Florida Sunshine Law. That's why we were very happy that Highland Beach had suddenly a beach club, which never really got off ground. But that would have been an easy way to cooperate with the beach club to clean the beaches. I'm just putting it in there because in the past it was always kind of sort of a concern.
Well, I would think with any event, you know, we would be sure to look at any that no one's violating the sunshine.
Okay.
laws.
Okay.
But again, to me,
Okay.
this is, you know, an event, but obviously we would make sure that there weren't any violations of the law.
Town Planner Allen, can we ask the board, the commission rather, to facilitate some type of new organization, a citizens action committee of some sort to facilitate this?
You can make your recommendation as you see fit. I really don't have any background to give you.
I mean, Member Braun just mentioned there was a attempt to do this in the past. And I think Diane Matherman also mentioned this, that there was a group of some sort, but there is probably no formal structure to it, or at least nothing that carried over into the years so we can look back on and say, well, this is the organizer.
Again, when you look at the provisions that I just mentioned in the code, that section 2-140, it says the board coordinates activities related to regular beach cleanup events. So that is your purview per the code.
Yeah, if I can interject, I don't think we need to have another group or committee for this. We just need to, in the newsletter, I mean, that's how I found out about it the first time I did it. It was either in the Coastal Star or in the Highland Beach newsletter, or maybe both, saying join us for beach cleanup. Meet at City Hall at 8 in the morning. And that was it.
So how do you propose what we date? How do we structure this thing? And how do we basically facilitate this?
I would say a bi-monthly beach cleanup. Meet at City Hall, you get the grabbers. And
First, we have to
I
find out
like-
we have the equipment. Go ahead, Nora. I'm sorry, Nev.
No,
Please.
no, I like the kickoff
well,
because,
we don't want to wait for the buckets to come because we don't know how long that will take.
well, okay, I mean, that's true, but like Chairperson Parks was saying, is like, we don't know when or what tools we'll need or when, how long it's going to take to get those either.
Well, maybe
So-
somebody down at City Hall can tell us if they still have those grabbers, which I would imagine they do. And I'm trying to remember, we picked up the garbage. I don't remember if they gave us buckets or bags to put the trash into, but they gave us everything that we needed. And they may still have all that. I mean, it wasn't a big turnout, not too many people come out to clean up the beach, unfortunately.
Well, that's
Maybe-
part of the publicity of it too, like getting it,
Yes.
making, that's why I think in part of our coordination or being a part of the coordination, that's part of our job, is to make sure that it's publicized enough,
Sure.
that we have enough of equipment to pass out, and planning exactly when it's going to be and aligning it with another event. Like all of that together is part of, I think, our job as the coordinators of the event, to make it all happen. And that's what I guess is the start of what we're doing now, just talking about it, how we're going to go about doing this.
Well, to get people involved, if they're not reading, but they always drive past City Hall. So if you had a banner that said, beach cleanup, and then you have something where you can put underneath the date, that could always be changed, but just to have the beach cleanup banner ready for every other month and place it there, then everybody sees it.
I think that's a great idea.
That's really good. I agree with you. This is what we have to do. And I think this goes back to my comments at earlier meetings about educating the public. I thought, to be very candid with you, I really wasn't aware of our presence as a board prior to my getting involved in the city politics. Now, that is what brought me to the board to begin with. And that's how I became aware of it. And I appreciate the fact you've allowed me to become part of the board. The reality is, I don't think the public in Highland Beach really knows what we are, who we are, what we do, and interact with us properly. So perhaps in the context of educating them through the newsletters, through the Coastal Star. By the way, I think we touched on in the past meetings, we give the information back to the public that we're here to preserve your future use of the beach. And based upon our weather conditions and problems, we do something about that. I like the idea of the banner. I like the idea of Vice Chairman Nev in regards to to helping kick off the entire program of regular cleaning. I don't think if you tell people it's going to be bi-monthly, by the way, that it's going to be as attractive as setting a specific date,
Right.
trying to encourage a turnout and getting them excited about the turnout, because if people think it's going to be a regular event, they always have a tendency to say, oh, I won't make it this month, but I'll do next month.
Mhm.
Or I'll do the next possible month. But if we make it a situation where we can perhaps provide some beverages or some incentive or have a group meeting, to the extent we can have a group meeting these days, that's possible. And we also have an interesting opportunity here, because COVID-19, which has totally distracted us and created all kinds of impediments in our lives, has also brought our residents home. So they have more time to go to the beach. And some of them, at least, not everyone has the privilege, but some of us have more time in our actual, home environment. Therefore, perhaps they're paying more attention to the beach, and maybe this is an opportunity to do, a special cleanup, so as to provide them with the opportunity
Ernst,
to have
wo
that.
hast du denn das hingetan, was du vorher hattest? Das leere. Hast du das weggeschmissen?
I'm sorry, I lost whoever's talking.
She's talking German.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So what do you think, Ned? What kind of, what would inspire someone like yourself and other people like you, your neighbors, to get to City Hall to start this program?
To get to City Hall and start
Well, yeah,
this program?
I'm
Like,
just trying to, obviously you're a young mother, you have a young family. We have to get these people to come out. So how do we inspire the
excitement for the cause?
Good question.
I mean, I just think that it's just, back to the publicity, like, put it in the paper, advert, just coordinate the event, like make sure that it's organized, beforehand, have everything ready and then publicize it and just, hey, I think that's just building the excitement is what we put in also the publicity as well, like, I don't know if it, if it helps to have like, pictures to, that would help, encourage families to come out. It's just, I'm not really sure.
Up
Like,
anymore.
there needs to be an excitement though created, like
it's a relatively safe activity though. That's what I'm trying to drive at, because COVID-19 has made it impossible for us to do anything other than socially distance. You don't have to stand on top of each other to clean the beach.
right.
So we can inspire them by saying this is a safe and productive activity that you can participate in right now. Your kids and families can come out if we can get them to come out, and you can spread out on the beach. We can give people an area such as what I believe one of the other members mentioned earlier, designated portion. I think Diane Mathman mentioned it, and say, let's see what we can do to facilitate this, but do so with the boundaries of keeping masks on, or using socially practical rules in terms of social distancing, so as to provide people with the idea that they can do this safely. That's one of the problems I saw with the Community Green Project. I thought that it involved too much interconnection between people in terms of planting trees or whatever, but beach cleanup presents an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, people could wear their masks as they pick up the equipment, but they don't have to stay congregated and,
Right.
Exactly right.
in a large group.
I wonder also if we could somehow get the kids to get community service hours if they participate.
That's a great idea too.
Kids,
Boca High School, some of these kids need over 200 hours of service hours. What better way to get it by going to the beach?
Speaking for member Tertian, I'm sorry, but I don't want to mispronounce Darius's last name. I think he had an objection. Someone had an objection. I think it was one of the members of the public in the past, to allowing other people or encouraging other people from other communities onto our beach. Since we can't limit community service hours to only individuals who are residents of the town of Highland Beach, we would be encouraging that. I think it's a great activity, but ultimately that was a reservation that was presented in the past by the community itself. And I'm sure we'll hear from them after this meeting, that we don't want to have anyone on the beach that doesn't otherwise have the right to be there. But yeah, I think community service hours is great. I just think we have to take care of our backyard, basically.
Yeah, I think that we should keep it for the resident responsibility here in Highland Beach. But yeah, it's how we do have to figure out how to encourage or excite people to come out and do it. But I'm really happy that we're having this discussion, and I'm glad to see that it was like, one of the top items on the list of our responsibilities. I don't know if it would be best if maybe we just, make a list of everything we've discussed, because there've been some great items that we've talked about, but I don't know if anybody's like, I'm sure it's being recorded and that we can go back and look at it, but just a priority list of exactly the date that we plan on doing this, or I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I didn't interrupt you. I apologize. Go ahead.
I like the alignment with the with the buckets, but again, we don't know exactly when that's going to be, but just like an item list, like what we need to do, the publicity, like all those things that we just discussed. And like, then we can kind of figure out how to tackle each of those to get to that point where we're actually having the event.
Diane, to your point about the bi-monthly cleanup, what if we target it quarterly? And we make a recommendation to the commission that we set up a quarterly event beginning November 1st, February 1st, June 1st, and then of course, November again, or October, whatever comes out. And basically try to suggest to the board that we set up, the commissioners, that we set up a facility where these residents can get together and collectively do this. Take a baby step, basically.
Yeah, I like the
Absolutely.
quarterly. I'd like starting,
Right.
giving a little space in between the times. And then as we go, we can, do it by, every other month and then every month. And then, you never know where it will go.
It'll give us an opportunity as a town to facilitate the equipment we need and to see how the turnout is. If we don't have a big turnout, we'll know it wasn't worthwhile, whatever. If we have a big turnout, we'll know how many more bags, buckets, and things we have to have in the future, right?
Yeah, and it'll be an opportunity to get the residents to know about our board as well,
And when you pick it up at town hall, you have one of those tents set up so other people driving by see that something's going on.
If they'll allow us to do that, yes.
Yeah, I think the banner is a great idea. So people know.
Yeah,
Make
because people
bold-
people walk on the path all the time regularly,
Yeah.
drive up and down.
Driving by.
Yeah, and I think it should be as big as the one that was the most recent one that I saw, which was the congratulations to the high school seniors.
Yes,
Um,
Can I add a comment to that?
yes.
Play devil's advocate. I'm just putting it out there.
Uh-oh.
I think you have to be mindful that when you put a large banner like that, you're going to have people that may not reside in town of Highland Beach that would like to participate. And then you have to be careful of having large groups of people. Where are those people going to park? Are they going to be parking at the hall and walking across the street on private property? So again,
Okay, speaking from experience from the time that I was there, I don't think we need to worry about large crowds. Unfortunately, I wish that was going to be the problem. But, a lot of people say they want to clean the beach, but when it comes time to do it, they don't show up. It was not that many people. And City Hall can accommodate plenty of people. I say we go for it and only hope that we have so many people that we can't park them. It's not going to happen.
right, and we don't have to. I mean, maybe we could coordinate these events. Like, when would be the best day? Probably a weekend. When did they have it, Diane? When you had?
No, I seem to remember it was during the week, which is why the crowd was smaller than normal. Because obviously people that work can't come.
Right. Well, I was thinking weekend just because, it'd be maybe.
I think you'd get more people.
Yeah, maybe more people, but also we could use the parking lot of town hall instead of being indoors. We could be
closed.
outdoors. I don't know if even we could set up, if it's hot, during a certain time of year, we could have, a tent, maybe, just one that's set up really quick, just to provide a little bit of shade for when somebody's getting their materials.
Yes.
They don't have to stay under the tent, but, just something like that, but we'd have use of the parking lot, maybe.
Yeah.
Miss Allen, do you think we can get the town to cooperate and give us access to cold water and paper cups and things like that at a table? Would that be a big issue, which would have to require a commission meeting and authority, or basically would that be something the town could accommodate us on?
Well, let me say this, the town has a stay home order that's in place. So I think the board has good intentions, but I can discuss it with the town manager and give you some more information at the next board meeting. But I think we have to remember that we don't want to promote the gathering of, I don't remember the threshold at this point. Is it more than 9 people? I can't remember the threshold, but consistent the stay home order that the town has implemented. We have of having groups of people, large groups of people.
Why don't we project this out to February then, or something of that nature, or January, so we can have time to plan it and have time to get it coordinated and approved, and hopefully have one more meeting before we actually have it. And what I also like to encourage the board today to do is come up or coin a name for the project, like the Great Beach Sweep or something, because
That's good right there.
I like that one too.
I mean, we need to make this a fun activity. I
Yeah,
will gladly come out and participate in this fun activity. I'm sure Diane Matherman will come out and participate. And I'm
Absolutely.
positive Vice Chairman Mirage will show up with her family, but I'm sure a lot of other people will probably not necessarily, as you pointed out, Diane, show up. But if we give it some kind of a coin a name for it and promote it basically and give some that, publicity to it, maybe if we plan it for February 1st, which is right in the middle of the season, we'll get enough interest and support that we'll be able to actually have our buckets if we get lucky enough to be able to get that coordinated.
that would be
And
great.
take care of it. I mean, everything takes planning, as town planner
Yes.
Alan
Yeah.
knows. So
And put it in the Coastal Star.
absolutely, all of this, and it was a very valid point, Ms. Allen, that, if we were to stay at home order, I'm certainly not one to want to facilitate any type of public, breach of that.
Right, and then putting it in the Coastal Star too could, it would be not just Highland Beach that would be on notice about that. It would kind of spread it. So we have to be mindful of where we're putting this, and
Well, it's in there under Highland Beach,
yeah.
the
But
Highland Beach activity.
how would the people who are not already privileged with an easement to the beach get to the beach if we did this? That's a practical remark. How do I have an easement. I'm entitled to an easement. So is everyone in this meeting, all the members, I believe. But what about if someone came in from out of town? They don't have access to those easements, and we don't have any public access points to the beach.
Well, they would, if they were coming for beach cleanup, they park at City Hall and then they would walk onto the beach.
From where?
From they would be with people who know how to get onto the beach.
Well,
The key
I
being,
don't think the people who are coming from out of town for a weekend, if we're open by that time, are going to be doing this. I think it's our town residents.
Yeah, they know how to get to the beach.
okay. I'm just.
Could throw one more thing out there. If I
Are
may.
you the naysayer for the meeting?
No, again, just for
sorry,
something,
go ahead.
just throwing it out on the table. Given the reality of COVID-19, maybe instead of the board thinking about events, which, I commend you for doing it, the beach cleanup event, maybe the board should have maybe the board could focus on
reaching out to the public and having the public the next time they walk on the beach on their own to pick up they see. How about just advising people, hey, we are in a situation where we can't come together in groups. However, the next time you do go out to the beach, please pick up, and we could, you could do some real creative marketing on your page just for people to be mindful of when, as I said, they're on the beach. It just takes some ownership of cleaning the beach on their own the next time they're out there. Maybe
That was the whole purpose of the buckets.
right. And again, whether someone utilizes a bucket or not, but just if they're on the beach, pick something up, and maybe that could be an initiative that you all can promote.
Yeah, we could add something on our website.
Without a public gathering, without an event happening, just make people more mindful that they should take the responsibility when they do walk on the beautiful beaches that they can pick up. And maybe that may be a more appropriate approach given the COVID reality that we're all dealing with right now.
How big a banner can we have, Miss Allen?
Pardon?
If it's allowed, how big a banner, how much of a banner can we actually have in front of City Hall, and how long can we have it there?
I really don't know. I'd have to look into that. I know I believe there's certain provisions in the code about signage. I think banners may apply to that. I'd have to look into it. I really don't know.
We are the city board of natural advisory board, so we should have some privileges regarding that. But what I'm thinking about now is that why don't we just call our beach bucket project the Great Beach Sweep?
Yeah.
And put it on a banner and publicize it to the public, at least in the drive-by on A1A on front of City Hall.
Yeah,
Until we can coordinate this activity as a group, like you're suggesting we can't do because of COVID-19, which I understand and appreciate, by the way. I'm completely behind you on that. At least we started as the Great Beach Sweep, and maybe it'll evolve into a group activity. But at least initially, it starts as an educational experience to let the public know that we placed these buckets on bucket trees at their easements, which they can then take to the beach and take the incentive of collecting refuse that otherwise would be stepped on or
Yeah,
whatever.
let's clean up our beach, you know,
Yeah,
let's,
exactly. That's another part of another slogan. I mean, we got to take possession of our own resources as a town. So I want to try to figure out a way, and I think this is brainstorming. This is a good opportunity to brainstorm and put together a program. So please,
yeah,
dive in.
I like putting a banner for the cleaning up the beach and the, you know, I mean, utilizing that, you know, and the residents would be aware of it, you know, like it's not, you know, because they're the ones that are going out on our beach. So
Right.
I would, if Town Planner Allen could look into that banner, I think that'd be great to see how long we could keep it up and what we can do with that.
And Ms. Allen, can we make signs that we could utilize some kind of an MDF material or some type of a less, you know, a plasticized material we could put at the easements to publish our project?
Again,
Yeah,
we have a specific sign code. So I'd have to look at any proposed signage against that code. There are certain provisions for temporary signs. So I'd have to look at the code.
Would you be kind enough to research a 24 by 18 or 24 by 36 inch sign that we could put up at the entrances to the beach throughout the town? We'd need probably anywhere from 10 to 20 of them. I don't know how many access points there are. I don't think there's that many. And that would be part of our beach bucket cleanup project, because this would be a notice to the public as to what these buckets are for. And it would be much more obvious than simply putting a bucket tree up or even the sign next to the bucket tree.
So you're talking about a permanent sign, like again, a stake or what?
No, temporary signs. I mean, we could attach to the, our easement basically has hurricane fencing in front of it. I think most of them do, as a matter of fact. This would be just temporarily affixed to the actual fence to educate the people who walk through the gate as to the fact that we want them to do this and make it part of the Great Beach Sweep or whatever we call it.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Can I ask? You know, when somebody is running for election and they put it on the grass all over the place, what about getting signs that we can then reuse that stick into the ground saying beach cleanup this weekend? And then you could use them over and over again.
It depends on, again, the size of the beach, of the sign, and whether we can stick
Yeah, as
something.
I said,
Well,
we have
if the sign for voting, it should be able to be used for that. But we have to find out.
we have a pretty detailed sign code. And so I'd really have to look at it. It's several pages of code with regards to signage.
So that's those, you know, they're not up all the time. It's the ones that people are running for office, those kind of signs.
That wouldn't be big enough, I don't think, to be able to publicize
Those
it.
are political signs. Those are considered temporary signs per the town code. Again, there's certain thresholds as to how large the sign could be for temporary signs.
I'm saying temporary signs because you're having it on such a weekend, and then you pick up the signs, you save them for the next time, and you put them back down, besides the banner.
Well, the signs I was referring to were signs that would bring people's attention to the fact that we want our bucket, what the bucket tree is there for, and what we're trying to inspire them to do on the beach. And it wouldn't necessarily be an event sign, such as on February 1st, we meet for the beach cleanup event, because we can't do that yet. We can't plan that until we know when this crisis is going to end. But right now we can have a sign which says, this is, you know, we have to band together as a town to facilitate a cleanup project.
Right.
We need your help. And that was where I was going with this. And I think that's how Nev Naraj was going with this too. I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but that's what and Diane, of course, also. So please jump in here.
I would like to have the information on all of that, honestly, like the voting size signs and the ones that Chairperson Parks is talking about that would be more towards the beach, that are a little larger.
I'd like to know, the code
Cost.
and allowability of both of those. Because I don't think they're a bad idea, either one.
So let's make a recommendation. Let's compose a recommendation to the commission to allow us to, to facilitate this. We can't give them fiscal impact because we don't know how much it'll cost. So where do we begin, Town Planner Allen, where do we begin the process of evaluating the cost of temporary signs and a banner?
And the allowability of these signs, the temporary ones and the ones that you were speaking of, Chairperson Parks. So all three of those, there's three separate signs we're talking about. The banner, the signs towards the beach, the larger signs, and the temporary signs,
Well,
the
that's
small temporary.
a lot of information. I think that the first step would really, I'd really like to look at that sign code and maybe report back to the board at the next meeting. I could discuss this idea of signage with the town manager, see what his thoughts are. But I think it's important to really make the board aware of what the sign code provisions are. And are you going to place these on private property, right? I think it's going to be private property.
Well, the entrances to the easements, so far as they're public, they're quasi-public property at that point, because the easements.
And where did the voting ones go? That's on the grasses along the road. Isn't that town?
You cannot put any signs on the public right of way. It's prohibited.
So where did go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
When there's elections, where they put those signs, that's where I'm thinking of putting the signs for these activities.
Many of those signs are illegally placed.
That's true. A lot of them are placed in the public right of way, and our code enforcement officer often is picking them up off the public right of way. Yeah.
Oh. All right.
So where can we put a sign, Town Planner Allen?
Well, there's provisions for, on private property, on property that you own. There's certain provisions with regards to, the location, as I said, the size of the sign. Again, you guys caught me off guard. I don't have the sign. I'm looking at the sign provisions in the code as I'm talking with you. They're quite lengthy and they're quite detailed. So as I said, I'd rather come back to the board at the next meeting and provide you an overview of the sign code, and then you could, decide how you'd like to move forward. I also like to discuss this with the town manager, because I know there's an issue of, private property where you're going to put those signs.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like the ones that are similar, the temporary ones of the voting aren't going to, like the voting ones aren't going to be the best option. But I definitely think that the ones towards the beach that are on the easements, we'd like to hear about.
I think that part of the problem with the signage, the little voting signs, is that it's a distraction to drivers, that they are driving and they're trying to read that sign at the same time. So that's one of the problems with those.
Oh, I was thinking it's more for the walkers, but okay.
But they also
That's what I was told.
They also present an opportunity for pollution in our town because they blow over, blow away, blow around, or they're not collected properly. So I'm not really a big fan of the idea of any more of those signs going up than they have to be. I was thinking more along the lines of something that we could make up that would be plasticized so it would withstand the weather, and we could actually associate with our tree or our bucket tree, or at least near the bucket tree, so as to draw attention to what the project really is. This is all about education in my view, and that's why the banner was a great idea, and I thought that was a really cool idea to put in front of City Hall. But we can't keep it up indefinitely because I'm sure they want to use the space for other things. But these signs would definitely just enhance that. So I think our recommendation back to the committee, so I'm not sure we have a recommendation to make or a resolution to propose to them, but one way or the other, they have to authorize us, or they should be asked to authorize us, is a better way of saying it, to coordinate a education program for the public to participate in cleaning up our beaches. because that is clearly and absolutely the top priority for our powers and duties. That was already expressed earlier. And in order to do that, we need their help and their consideration. And I'd like them to authorize a budget of some sort to facilitate this. And I don't know what they have in mind and what they could give us, but I don't think it's going to be thousands of dollars. I think it's going to be probably in the neighborhood of a couple of $100s for the signs. The bucket trees, depending upon how complicated they are going to cost some money, but we have to figure out a pathway to what we need and what we can put on there. We've gone over some ideas of what we can do today. I'd like to propose a drawing. I'm going to try to provide a drawing to the members of the board and send it through an email of what I conceive to be what Diane Matherman has suggested. I think we can do a very simple 4x4 pole with galvanized metal posts through it that basically can have hooks on the end, and we can hang this bucket there, and we can put our sign right on the 4x4 pole. Well, and then we can plant this in the ground well west of the coastal easement. Sorry, what did you call it? I'm lost.
Also construction control line.
Thank you. And therefore, we won't run into the DEP and problems like that. I think the public would really appreciate the fact that we're trying to do something about it. So if we have to, we can make our bucket tree similar to what has been done in Boca Raton, except our sign will be attached to the actual pole, and the buckets will hang to the right and left of the sign. And we'll basically have what amounts to being an opportunity for the public to participate in the activity of cleaning their own beach. And if they encourage their children to do so, that'd be wonderful. That's why we can't go with too big a bucket, by the way. It would get too heavy for young adults or young, not excuse me.
And the old folks.
And we're not gonna, well, I didn't say that, you did. Bottom line is we're gonna try to make it so it's amenable to the public to put forward. So with that in mind, I'd like to close out the topic by proposing a resolution back to the commission to allow us to facilitate this. Is that all right? So my motion basically is going to be as follows. I move that the board authorize a recommendation to the commissioners that effectively allows the town to place a bucket tree with buckets, plasticized buckets, labeled appropriately, and set up in such a manner as to facilitate the collection of debris from the beach, with a sign attached to it advising the citizens of this community to facilitate, to help or aid us in keeping the beach clean, which will be the underlying message. Do I have a second?
Second.
On that note, do I have a vote, please?
I vote yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, it's unanimous.
Yes.
So back to Miss Allen's recommendation memorandum.
Yes.
It basically is to the commission from the board regarding the implementation of a beach cleanup
Yes.
project.
Still working. Yep.
Do you want me to summarize it, or do you have enough information already to put it together in your memorandum?
You can go ahead and summarize it.
All right, the action we're requesting they take is to facilitate our ability financially to erect a bucket tree with plastic buckets that are labeled appropriately with the town insignia and the actual project name. We'll, I don't want to digress, but we want to come up with some, since we have to talk now as a board. Any ideas as to what we should name the project? Come on. Great beach sweep, clean your community beach, Highland Beach forever. What?
Great beach sweep.
Great beach sweep. Okay, that's one idea. We can use the insignia of the town. We can put the Great Beach Sweep.
I think we should have the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board on the sign as well. So that, because I think that the town needs to know that we exist, and that would help.
I agree. And, well, we can call it the relic collection bucket instead of garbage. I'm just kidding around.
Sweep. That's fine with me. I like that. The Great Sweep.
I mean, we have to, and as I said earlier, if we make the buckets up in such a manner as to make them porous, then they won't collect water. We won't be in a situation where they'll be amenable to being used for fishing or taken off the beach because someone else has the desire to plant something in them. Although actually they might make good planters. I don't know. But I don't think people would be inclined to do so if we label them appropriately and make them white and orange lettering or something consistent with Highland Beach. We have things like that set up down the road in A1A for the condominiums to use flags to cross over. I'm sure you've all seen that. You know, I don't know when we put that in order, but people can pick up an orange flag. Go ahead, Ms. Baum. You're muted. You're muted, Ms. Baum. You're muted if you can hear me. She's not talking. I can't hear Ms. Anyone hear Ms. Baum besides me?
No, we can't hear you.
Okay, wait. You hear me now?
Yes.
Now I can hear you.
Now I can.
Okay, I'm taking care here of my elderly aunt, and now it's dinner time. I have to leave now. I'm sorry.
Have a
Yeah?
good evening. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, bye-bye, everybody.
All right, so back to the memorandum. The action is to, authorize our board to finalize lettering or other designations on these buckets that would be placed on a bucket tree with appropriate signage to facilitate the collection of debris that's left on the beach by the individual residents of the town. Background, we've already explained that, and I don't think we really have to go further with that. It's pretty clear as to what our intentions are. The fiscal impact, we're going to ask the town manager to please prepare a report as to the cost of purchasing sufficient buckets. And I say sufficient because the town manager is going to have to figure out how many easements there actually are onto the beach to do this. I imagine there has to be at least 10 to 15 individual easements onto the beach and 3.6 miles. I don't know for a fact what that would be, but that would have to be multiplied by each bucket tree, which would probably hold 6 to 8 buckets. So you can do the math on that. We can try to get local participation of stores like Home Depot or Lowe's to assist us in this effort. However, if we can't, the buckets only cost $2 to $3 a piece. And I'm sure we can buy them wholesale. Fiscally, that would be a situation where it would be a very reasonable project. Of course, it's also subject to the town manager's report. Attachments, we're going to reserve on attachments because we're going to come up with some diagrams and some graphics, I guess. Can someone here do graphics for us? Is there a board member that would like to do some graphic work? Anyone artistic involved? We still have, how about you, Nev? Are you a graphic person?
It depends on what we're doing here. What's the graphic for? Is it
the bucket?
The bucket.
I thought that we had Tarisha or someone from the town that did those kind of things. But I mean, I could help, of course. Yes.
I don't know. I'm not trying to pin you down or like that. I don't know what your background is, whether you have a graphic. I don't know if we have any graphic designers in our lives. Are you graphic design? You have
I'm not a graphic designer. I mean, I've worked with a lot of them.
Then you're more experienced than I have.
but
poor country lawyer. Sorry.
Not some. I could help for sure. You know, if we wanted to come up with like a logo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that something Ms. Krebs would want to do for us, Town Planner Allen? Is that something that we can ask her to do, or how do we get it?
I'd have to check with the town manager because he's the one that gives staff direction as far as workload and items that we'll be working on. So I'd have to discuss it with him.
So how do we get feedback from the town regarding a logo of some sort, or some kind of who creates these type of things?
Risha does.
Yeah, that's what I thought she had in the past, but if not,
She's very good at that.
Yeah.
Tricia, we've been talking about you.
Yeah. I do appreciate the credit, but I can't say that I have designed all the logos in town. For the town logo, we had a resident that offered his expertise on graphic design. I definitely would be willing to help if the town manager does give me that permission to do that. And I don't see it being an issue, but of course we would need the authority of the town manager to move forward with that.
And then hence this is our recommendation then, which is inconsistent with the memorandum. The recommendation is that the commission authorize the town manager to explore the creation of a logo for our Great Beach Sweep, and a proposal that the logo includes some reference to the the advisory board on the actual bucket pursuant to Vice Chairman Miraj's suggestion, and that we basically have a sign created consistent with that logo, possibly something with some color to it that would facilitate a wave or some indication of an environmentally consistent pattern. And once we have all those things in place, we facilitate the implementation of the buckets and the signage, and we put up a banner in front of City Hall, which will also carry that logo and that signage with it. So everything will tie together to a project that can be implemented by the public without a meeting, without a group event, and would actually facilitate some degree of environmental dissipation at this point. Anyone want to add anything for the recommendation?
And to
I'm
be
sorry,
included
can I
in the
interrupt you?
manager's.
Sorry, Ms. Thompson, what was your question?
Yes, okay, so you made a recommendation right now concerning the logo, and you added, you added the signage. That's now one recommendation, so the previous recommendations that you made, you're lumping them into one, is that correct?
I was just trying to be consistent with the memorandum. I'm reading the memorandum as I speak to you off my other screen, and the memorandum indicates that I have to fill in these areas for the town clerk.
Okay, so this is a separate recommendation for the
This is
logo
all,
itself?
this is all, I'm sorry if we were scattered. I'll try to, want me to rephrase it?
Okay,
Or I rephrase it entirely?
okay, I'm just trying to understand, is it one recommendation that
One
you're?
recommendation.
Okay,
One
okay.
recommendation. We recommend that the commission permit, I'm sorry, how do you say this? We recommend the commission consider allowing a beach sweep project, or the Great Beach Sweep project, which would include the implementation of bucket trees, which carry 6 to 8 2-gallon plasticized buckets and appropriate signage, and facilitate a logo or a motif or some other type of artistic, help me out here, guys, presentation for our project. I'm trying to be succinct.
Is this, I'm sorry, was this for the banner?
This is for the whole recommendation is consistent with the banner and the buckets and everything together.
Okay, so I guess the theme.
Perfect, thank you. I need people to add words once in a while. The theme, the Great Beach Sweep theme, and effectively allow us also to put up a banner at City Hall advising the public of our intentions, the project, and the manner in which we intend to implement it. Is that clear enough? Or do I need to go further? Ms. Thompson?
I got it, it's good, thank you.
Okay, okay. That seems to have exhausted that topic. Unless something else wants to be added, does anyone have to add anything all to the topic?
Can I just get some clarity? So you had mentioned earlier, you want these on the easements, right?
We'll offer them to the people who control the easements, yes.
Okay, so how many do you anticipate then?
I don't know. I don't know how many easements there are. I never counted, and they're all sort of secluded and hidden back and
Yeah, we need you to tell us that, how many easements there are.
Well, that would be, again, the direction of the town manager. I thought I heard you say, Chair, that I thought I heard you say 12. Is that what you mentioned? Is that
Well, I was thinking 6 to 8 buckets per tree.
But
So we're looking.
easements? I think that's what you had said. I may be wrong.
No, I don't know. I can't imagine there'd be more than 10 to 20 of these easements throughout the town. I know there are at least 3 on the north side. I'm sorry, the south side. But I don't know. You can't tell because they're sort of set back, and some of them are actually between homes, and they're quite secluded and basically covered with vegetation.
Yeah, could someone find out how many easements there are and where they are for us, so that we know?
Again, I'd have to discuss it with the town manager. It's something that may also have to include some sort of legal review. So I could report back to the board at the next meeting. I'll see what the town managers,
I think
we're
we
not
need
gonna-
to get permission as well from each easement owner.
pardon?
Right.
Don't we need permission?
Yeah.
Yes. I just, I mean, you can have an easement on your property. I mean, it's, I guess there's a fine line there between, like, if you have if you live on a lake and there's a lake easement, you know, there's a fine, I guess there's an argument to be made. If you want to put a sign on an easement, can you do that? Maybe not. So that's why I think maybe a legal review would be appropriate. And again, it would be the town manager that would give the direction to staff to go ahead and look and research easements. That's can be a very time-consuming type project, time-consuming research. So again, I would have that discussion with the town manager, and then I could advise the board accordingly at the next meeting.
Ms. Stern, we can't hear you. Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
so, okay, sorry. If you get this information before when we choose our next meeting, could you email it to all of us? So then maybe we could have some kind of a discussion via email. You know, we don't have to wait till the next meeting.
We're not allowed to do that.
Not allowed to do that?
That's the sunshine laws.
Oh,
But we have to talk it through right now.
Mm.
I use the term easements loosely, perhaps. I'm talking about the pathways to the beach. And most of them are controlled by community organizations, but some of them are perhaps not. I know that at least the one which I'm dealing with normally is a community organization, and Highland Beach Isles, I believe, or whatever. And you know more of the name of that. But there's no real association behind it. It's just a matter of the residents have the right to that pathway.
Well,
through
there
the
really
property.
is an association, Steve.
I mean, Greg Bowen's association.
Yes, that is an association.
It's no longer in existence, though.
I don't know. And I know the one north of that, the one that I guess you and I technically are supposed to use is the Bellito Association.
I'm technically supposed to use the Ocean Place Estates, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
The
Because
one
I
that
use
goes through them, right? But
Okay.
it is the Bellito Association. You're
Bellito,
right.
yeah.
I think it's Bellito. That's correct. All things considered, I don't think it's a big impediment, but it definitely has to be looked at. And if you can ask, I don't know how to, we can ask Town Manager Labate to possibly look into this for us.
Yes.
Make sure that we're, on firm ground here, no pun intended, and that we can put this bucket tree up, because it would be really a waste of our time to continue exploring the topic and not be able to implement it.
Exactly.
So
We
really,
might as well wait at this point.
I mean, one advantage Boca Raton and Boynton and the other towns you explored have over us is they put it on public property. So there was no need to go back to the individual property owners to implement the bucket tree. We
Exactly.
don't have that privilege. So we can only
I
offer
see
it.
yeah, that's where I see possible hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. It's a problem. It's a shame too. But
I
that's
think-
the recommendation. And I don't have anything further to say about that. I'd like to proceed on the agenda. If you don't mind, I'd like to go to item number 10, which are announcements. Are we to read aloud the actual dates for meetings? Is that the format you'd like to pursue, Ms. Thompson?
It's not necessary.
Okay. So basically, there are a series of meetings coming up that the public should be aware of, and we highly encourage all the town residents to take notice of these meetings and participate in these meetings and do what they have to do. And on that note, with all consideration, there being no further business to come before the board, I move to adjourn at this time.
I second.
Adjourned at 12:05 p.m.
Thank you very much for a productive meeting. I appreciate it. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you for all your help.
Thank
You're
you.